A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
The greatest story ever told. Today, we present The Parable of the Sower, a drama based on a teaching in the 8th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke, a teaching from the greatest life ever lived. In ancient times, the swiftest form of travel was to be found in the beautiful and majestic Roman galleys which moved across the glistening blue waters of the great sea. Yet the Roman galleys were nothing more than slave ships. And below their decks, there was no majesty, no beauty, not for the men whose backs power the oars and who spent their lives chained to their benches. And even when such a vessel was anchored in port, these men remained below decks, prisoners of their chains. So it is now that in the port which served the city of Rome, a galley rides at anchor. And we find two galley slaves straining to see what they can of the great city from their place below decks.
Reuben, can you see anything through the oar vent? Well, Samuel, when I bend over this way, I can see. Well, what does Rome look like? I can't tell much. Oh, wait. No, that's as far forward as I can bend with these chains. Just a harbor like any other.
All right, Sentry. Which one is he?
That's the one, sir. That one there.
Me?
Sentry, if you're looking for the one who called for the water yesterday, I'm the one you want. And if there's punishment due, it's mine. Leave this man alone.
Quiet. And now, you.
Yes, sir.
Is your name Samuel? Are you from Cana, the province of Galilee?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, Sentry. Unlock his chain.
Sir, what is it? What's going to happen to me?
I don't know. I get orders and I carry them out. You're wanted on shore. Come on, Sentry, take off his chain.
Yes, sir. They take my friend Samuel, my only friend. Take him away 2 days ago to kill him in cold blood. And why? Did he ever do anything to anyone? No. I tell you, if I could ever...
You there!
Me? What do you want? I haven't broken the rules. So you don't know me. I wondered if you would. Know you? Why should I... Wait. Samuel! You in those fine clothes, clean and dressed like a citizen of Rome?
Yes, Reuben.
I don't believe what I see. What happened to you?
I can hardly believe it myself. I'm free. The man whose testimony sent me here, he confessed he was lying, so I was set free. And the property I once had, the property that was confiscated, it's been returned to me.
Like a miracle. It is, Samuel.
I'm glad I had a chance to come back to see you before the galley sailed from here, because I've got something to say to you. To all you men. Now, men, though I'm dressed in fine clothes now, I shall bear the marks of the chains on my wrists and my legs. And those marks are a bond between all of you and me. I'll never forget that I've pulled an oar alongside you for 4 years. Now I shall have my farm in Galilee again. Well, any of you are sure of a welcome there. If it be only for a meal to tide you over, or for a night's sleep, or for work if you can't find it elsewhere. Remember that. All you have to do is show me your marks. That'll be enough for me.
at last.
And it was your doing, Deborah. I know it.
Oh, Samuel.
Except for you, they would have forgotten about me. Though I were innocent, I would have died in the galleys.
All that is over now. You must forget it, all of it.
It may be over, but I will never be able to forget it. I'll remember every scar and how I got it. It's not easy to forget such a living death.
Samuel, there's one thing you must promise me now that you're back. That you will not hate. That you will forgive everyone who was involved.
Even the man whose lies sent me to the galleys?
Even him.
It is not possible.
Samuel, listen to me. While you've been away, a wonderful thing has happened here in Galilee. A new teacher. A new prophet. Yes, a Messiah has come to us.
A Messiah?
Yes, the Messiah. And as soon as you are rested and have regained your health, you will go to hear him teach. But through him you will find a way to forgive even that man whose lies sent you to the gallows.
Oh, Deborah, within myself, I couldn't find willingness to forgive any of them. But because you say it's possible, I will believe it. For without your love to sustain me, without your faith to give me strength, I couldn't have lived through all this. We shall go to hear him teach because you believe.
Samuel, it's time to put out the lamp. Time for you to sleep. There'll be another day's work tomorrow.
What, Deborah?
Oh, you still think about it, don't you?
Every so often. It was the same time of year they first came for me, remember?
Will I ever forget?
We were sitting here in this very house, the two of us. And there came that knocking on the door. Caesar's sentries. And they took me away.
But that was 5 years ago. Sam, you've been home almost a year. Can't you ever forget?
Who knows? Every so often I get to think... Deborah.
No. No, Samuel, it can't be that again. I'll open the door. One moment. What do you want?
Does a man named Samuel live here?
Yes, he does.
Well, tell him that Reuben is here.
Reuben! Oh, how good to see you again. Come in, come in.
Well, you see, Samuel, I have friends here with me.
Well, bring them in, all of them. Deborah, these men were my friends in the galley. Food, all the food we have for them. Come in, friends, come in. The house is yours.
Well, it turned out to be quite an eventful evening, didn't it?
Such hungry men. You would think they had not eaten in weeks.
Believe me, it did my heart good to see them eat the way they did. You don't know what it was like there.
I can imagine. Samuel, will they be staying with us long?
As long as they want to.
All four of them?
I gave them my word.
Oh?
When I left the galleys, I promised them there'd be work here for them. A home. Forever if they wanted it.
But they're criminals.
They were my friends. They deserve a chance, just as I would have.
But you were different. You were innocent.
They wouldn't be near here now if they hadn't rescued that Roman officer when the ship was wrecked. That's how they won their freedom. You see, they've changed. And we can help them change even more. Now, don't worry. Nothing will happen. We'll all get along fine. In fact, the next time the master comes here to Cana, and we go to hear him, they'll go with us to listen to him, to follow his teaching. You'll see.
I hope so.
May I have a little more yet? This was by far the finest day's work we've done, men.
Well, at that, it's easier than breaking your back as a galley slave, right, Kitty?
Who would know better than we, Reuben?
Well,
I guess you men have been wondering what happens to all the produce we've been raising here.
We know it goes to market, Samuel.
But you never see any of the money. Is that it?
It's not our place to ask questions, is it, man?
Well, I know good work when I see it. And I know deserving men, too. So tomorrow we're having a bit of a holiday here.
Holiday?
Yes, the master is coming to Cana. I thought you men would like to go with Deborah and me to hear him.
You mean to be talked at, preached at? I've heard too much preaching in my time.
Don't be a fool, Matthias. Of course, we'll all go.
Good. For it will give you the chance to go into the town, too. And that's where the money comes in. Deborah, bring the pottery jar here.
The jar?
Yes, of course. Bring it here at once.
All right, my dear, one moment.
Each of you is to have some money.
Why,
When a man gets to town, he finds things he'd like to buy. I want you to have the money you'll need.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Samuel. But don't think it's necessary, after all. Your kindness is reward enough for us.
Here, Samuel.
Ah, thank you. Now, let's pour out some of these coins.
Wow.
That's quite a bit of money there, eh, Samuel? Enough. And now for the shares. Reuben, thank you. And yours, Gideon.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Far more than I deserve.
Matthias.
Thank you.
And Ezra.
Thank you very much, Samuel, and bless you.
No need to thank me. Any of you would have done the same. And now, Deborah, you can put the jar back.
Yes, Samuel.
Well, friends, tomorrow we rise a little later, and then we set out for the town. Good night to all of you. Good night, Samuel.
Samuel, the morning meal will be... Oh, Ezra.
Pardon, mistress. I was up earlier than the others. I thought you might need help in the kitchen.
No, thank you, Ezra. Though it is nice of you to offer.
You've wood enough? Water enough?
Yes, everything. Tell me, Ezra, what did you do?
You mean the galleys? How?
If you want to tell me.
I don't mind. I was young, alone, no family. I worked when I could. When I couldn't, I stole. That's how.
Oh, I see.
If anybody had ever been this decent and kind to me before, it never would have happened. Your husband is a kind man, understanding, and brave, too.
Brave?
Only a brave man would take a chance on men like us.
Deborah, is everything ready? We don't want to be late, not to hear the master. Oh, good morning, Ezra.
Morning, Samuel.
Are the others up there?
They should be. I called to them as I left the room. Reuben answered, and so did Matthias.
What is it, Ezra?
I just thought of something. There wasn't any answer from Gideon. Well, maybe he was still asleep. I'll go find out. I'll go.
What's the matter with him, Deborah?
I don't know. But he did seem upset. Where could Gideon have gone? Why should Ezra be so worried about him?
I don't know. I'll find out. Ezra! Ezra! Gideon!
Reuben, I couldn't find him.
Neither could I. What do you think, Samuel? Well, he was free to leave any time at all. He didn't have to sneak away.
I think maybe...
Yes, Ezra?
Reuben, Matthias, don't think badly of me because I accuse another man, but Samuel, the money jar. Have you looked at it this morning?
No, I haven't. Deborah, the money jar.
Yes, dear, I'll get it.
Well, we'll know soon enough now. Deborah?
Samuel, I went to look.
Well, where is it?
Gone. It's pretty obvious now, my dear. Gideon gone, the money jar gone.
Why, the ingrate. If I could find him, I'd teach him to abuse decency, to take advantage of hospitality. Imagine acting this way in the face of your kindness.
Well, I will admit I'm rather surprised.
Not nearly as surprised as Gideon will be.
Why do you say that, Deborah?
Last night, when you took out the jar, when you showed the money, I was afraid this might happen. So before I put the jar back, I took the money out and put in stone.
Oh?
Yes, Gideon has betrayed himself for nothing.
It'll serve the fool right. I always suspected that, Gideon. The oily way he talked, the compliments he used to pass out so freely. Well, I'm glad we've discovered him for what he is.
And thanks to Deborah, at no loss either. Well, my friends, we shouldn't let this one unfortunate incident stop us. We've a day to spend in Cana, a day to hear the master. Are you ready?
Samuel, Deborah, I've never heard such teaching before in all my life. Never seen such a person as the master. One has but to look at him to feel his strength, his compassion.
Ezra, that's why I was so anxious for you to be here.
If only I'd heard such teaching long ago.
It's not too late, Ezra. It never is. For the Master forgives those worthy of forgiveness. But wait. He's ready to speak again.
Be ye merciful, as your Father also is merciful. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that ye meet withal, it shall be measured to you again.
Well said. Very well said.
And now, Ezra, I think that's all the teaching for this day.
Oh?
For the master stepped down from the rock where he stood.
The teaching is over, you're sure?
Yes. See, the crowd disperses. Well, we must get back before dark.
Yes, dear, we should hurry. It's almost dusk now.
Matthias, I'm ready.
And Reuben?
Reuben? Why, he's not here.
But he was here. I saw him before. Then I became absorbed in the teaching and forgot about him.
If we wait for him, we'll have to travel most of the way in darkness. And we brought no torch with us.
Yes, my dear. Well, perhaps he remembered something he wished in the marketplace and went back to buy it. He'll find his way home. We should start out now.
Samuel, do you think that perhaps Reuben went back to the house by himself?
You mean he wasn't feeling well?
I don't mean that.
You think? Oh, no, Deborah, not Reuben. Why, he's my closest friend. In the galleys, we were chained to the same oar for 2 years.
I only thought...
You mean because Gideon turned out that way? Well, that doesn't mean we'll have to suspect Reuben, too. Come on, we'll all start home and hope that Reuben catches up with us on the road. Come.
If we start to look back anymore, Samuel, it'll be dark before we're halfway home.
I can't understand it. Reuben should have caught up with us by now. We haven't been going too fast.
Perhaps he was detained in town.
Deborah, that isn't what you mean at all, is it?
No.
Well, I tell you you're wrong. I'd trust Reuben with anything I have. Now, we'll just walk a little faster. Not that I'm worried. I just want to get home before dark, that's all.
It's sure now that Reuben did not come back because there's no light showing in the house.
Of course it's sure.
Samuel, wait.
Yes, Edward?
When you left the house, you did latch the door, didn't you?
Of course. Why?
Well, perhaps it's too dark for me to see well, but I think the door is open. It's moving back and forth in the breeze. Isn't that the door?
It is. It is.
Samuel, wait. Wait for us.
Come, Deborah.
Samuel. Samuel. Samuel.
Look at the place.
Chairs turned over. cupboards broken open. Things hurled to the floor.
Deborah,
Yes, dear.
the money. Where did you hide it this time?
I'll look.
Behind the loose rock. Is that where? Well?
The money. It's gone.
Reuben. The one I trusted most of all. When he committed this crime while we thought he was listening to the master. Oh, the shame of it.
I'm sorry, Samuel. We're both sorry.
You're sorry. But you can save all that, Ezra.
Please.
Quiet. I don't want to hear any more. I took all of you in. I gave the four of you a home where you had no place to sleep. Work where no one else would give you work because you bore the mark of the galleys. And this is the way you repay me. Well, I'm not a man who doesn't learn. Ezra?
Yes, Samuel?
Matthias?
Yes?
Get out of here. And off my land. And never come back. Because if you do, I'll have you back in the hands of the authorities before you know it. Now get out.
Please, Samuel, understand. We didn't have anything to do with this. Well, this place is my home. The only home I ever really had.
Get out. Do you hear me? Get out.
Yes, Samuel. Come, Matthias. We'd better be on our way.
Samuel, please, let me say this. I'm not asking for more than you've already given me. I don't even blame you for the way you feel now. You're right. But I do want to thank you. I don't know what lies ahead for an old man who's spent too many years in the galleys. I do know that what I had here was better than I deserved. So I only want to say thank you. You too, mistress. You're a good woman. God's blessings on you. Come, Ezra.
Samuel, I didn't like to see those two go.
What's the matter with you? First you suspect them all, now you're taking their side. Why?
Because it wasn't their fault. They didn't steal. They didn't use our home to betray us.
Still, I want no part of any of them anymore.
But you've just heard the master teach. Surely this wouldn't be his answer.
How much can a man stand before he strikes back? I gave him a chance.
I know you, Samuel. You have a conscience which will trouble you if you decide later that you did wrong. The master is here in Cana. We could go to his camp this very night and speak to him.
I won't go.
Please, Samuel, for your own peace of mind, come with me. Ask him.
Well, not that I think he'll change my mind, but to please you, I'll go. Because I know you love me and think only of my good.
We've come at a good time. The crowd is gone. The master's with his disciples round the fire. You can feel free to talk to him. Go on.
Yes, Deborah. Master, if I'm not intruding, I should like to ask your help. Surely no man ever set out with better intentions than I. Perhaps because I myself bear the marks of a galley slave, because I know the hardship, I opened my home to 4 men who were criminals. And 2 of them have deceived me. One stole, one tried to steal. The other 2 I've driven from my house, barred it against them. I have done the right thing, haven't I, Master?
A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. And others fell on good ground, and sprang up and bare fruit 100-fold.
Master, what has a sower of seed to do with me?
The seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside are they that hear. Then cometh the devil, and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved.
And the seed which fell on a rock?
They on the rock are they which, when they hear, receive the word with joy. But these have no root, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation fall away.
And the good ground, which are they?
That on the good ground are they which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it, and bring forth fruit with patience.
Samuel, don't you see? The Master knows his seeds of truth will find root only with those who have the capacity to receive his word. Yet he does not stop teaching because there are some who reject his teaching.
Yes. I understand now.
Well, then, should you give up doing good? Should you drive good men from your door because a few seeds have fallen by the wayside? Because a few men took advantage of your goodness and returned evil instead?
Deborah, you're right. I've done a cruel thing to them. We should find Ezra and Matthias at once. And, Master, I thank you for showing me my mistake. Come, Deborah. We may still find them. Come.
Surely they would have taken this road.
I think so. They'd leave from the town toward the sea. It's the way they choose.
Oh, I hope we're not too late.
If only this torch gave a brighter light. I'll hold it higher. There.
Samuel.
Yes?
Hold the torch up again. There, by the side of the road. I'm sure there were two men.
We'll find out. Ezra! Matthias! Do you hear me?
They've stopped.
Ezra, is that you?
Yes, Samuel. We took nothing with us. You can search us if you like.
Wait, Ezra. I haven't accused you of anything like that, have I?
What do you want with us? To tell us once more that we were thieves, that no one will ever trust us again?
I don't blame you for feeling bitter, Ezra. Nor you, Matthias.
I'm an old man. I've seen everything and learned to expect anything. Now let us go in peace.
No, wait. Listen to me. The fault was mine. To expect perfection where even the Master does not expect it. Because two men betrayed me, I withdrew my kindness and friendship from all four of you. Because Reuben and Gideon repaid good with evil, shouldn't have blinded me to the fact that my kindness did find root in the two of you. Can you forgive me for what I said to you, for driving you away from my house? Would you come back with Deborah and me?
Would we? Matthias, what do you think?
Oh, it would be home now, Ezra.
Home. Yes. Samuel, we will go back with you.
Good. Good. Did you hear that, Deborah? We're all going home together. Together.
Next week, on this same network at this time, we will present another episode in the greatest story ever told from the greatest life ever lived.
Hello, this is Father Bob Warren of the Franciscan Friars of the Atonement. Thank you for listening to this rebroadcast of the Ave Maria Hour radio show. The Friars' popular Ave Maria Hour was first brought to the radio airwaves in 1939, recorded in New York City and on the mountainside grounds at Graymoor, our home in Garrison, New York. These timeless classic stories of the Bible and the lives of the saints came to life each week through dramatic reenactment by professional actors and actresses. You know, friends, Christ once said, "Do not hide your treasure under a bushel." In saying this, he meant share your gifts, share your talents. The Friars of the Atonement feel the message in these broadcasts remains as powerful and timely as when they were originally aired, and we are so happy to be able to share them with you today. To learn more about the missions and ministries of the Friars of the Atonement, I invite you to visit our website, www.atonementfriars.org. In the meantime, sit back and enjoy this rebroadcast of the Ave Maria Hour.
Chapter 30. The Prodigal Son. Now Jesus was speaking to the crowds about him, and at this time he spoke often of the sinner who repents, and the rejoicing in heaven among the angels over the one who was lost. And in order to make the people know better of what he spoke, he told them a story.
I say to you that even so, there will be joy in heaven over one sinner who repents, more than over 99 just who have no need of repentance. A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father,
"Father."
Joel, my son, what is it? Why do you leave your work in the fields?
Father, I'm sick of working in the fields.
You're sick of it?
I'm through.
Through, Joel?
Yes. I ask you now. Give me the share of property that falls to me.
Don't listen to him,
Keep
Father.
out of this, Nathan.
But, Joel, I thought you were satisfied here and...
I'm not.
My son.
There's no use pretending.
If you spent less time at the inn talking to travelers, you might not be so discontented.
I like to talk to them. I learn about other places. Alexandria, Rome, Damascus.
And about drinking wine and dancing girls.
What's this, Nathan?
I'm sorry, Father. I shouldn't have spoken.
It's out, and I'm glad. I like gaiety. I don't want to spend my life in dullness. I want to see something of the world. So give me my share and let me go.
Mark my words, Father. If you do, he'll squander it in 6 months.
It'll be mine, not yours.
So just don't come back home when it's gone. That's all I ask.
Nathan, this is Joel's home, and he is always welcome.
Then you'll give me my share?
Under the law, I cannot deny you a share if you insist on leaving.
I do insist.
But, Joel, where will you go?
Oh, I think to Damascus first.
Damascus? It's the wickedest city this side of Rome.
Then, most righteous brother, if I don't like it, I'll go to Rome.
Oh, Father, don't listen to him.
Nathan, I don't wish Joel to leave, but I can see that he is determined. Very well, my son, I'll turn the sheep and grain into money as quickly as possible and give you the 1/3 share of the estate to which a younger son is entitled.
And he divided his means between them. And not many days later, The younger son gathered up all his wealth and took his journey into a far country. There he squandered his fortune in loose living.
$500 denarii on the next cast.
Let me kiss the dice. It will bring you luck.
Huh? Where did you come from?
Oh, I've been at your elbow all evening. But you care more for dice.
Don't go away. Here, see what luck you can bring me.
You don't need more luck. Come on, Cass, don't talk.
All right. All wagers down?
Right.
Then here we go. 7.
7 again. 3 times running.
I leave 1,000 denarii on the next cast.
No, it's not for me. I'm finished. I'm through with it.
Did I not bring you luck?
You certainly did. What's your name?
Melissa.
And Melissa, you should share in my winnings.
Thank you. What's your name?
Joel?
May I tell you something, Joel?
Of course.
It's customary for the winner to buy wine for the losers.
It is.
Otherwise, the men feel you are greedy for money. Already I've heard some say as much.
But I didn't know. Why didn't you speak sooner?
I was afraid. Since I dance here, he would think I was trying to force you to buy wine.
Well, I'll take care of it right now. Servants, wine for everyone present. All they can drink. I pay for it. That should take care of it.
Where are you from, Joel?
From a little place near Jerusalem nobody ever heard of. My father has a farm there.
Oh? I'm surprised.
You are?
Uh-huh.
Why?
One would think you had lived in Damascus for years. You don't look like a man from the country.
Oh, no? Tell me, what do I look like?
Oh, a man of the world. One who has traveled and seen a great deal.
Well, I haven't. But I like them to think so. What makes you think so?
The way you handle yourself. The way you tossed out the money for wine. The way you cast the dice. You like to gamble, don't you?
Who wouldn't like it when the money comes so easily?
But here they play only for denarii. I can show you a house where they play for talents.
Talents?
Yes. Only last night I heard of a man who won 300 talents on a single cast. Oh, just think, with the luck you have, how much you would have in your pockets now had you been casting for talents.
Yes. I'd have to buy a camel to carry it about.
Shall I take you to this place?
Yes.
Then come.
Let's have some wine first.
I'll dance for you while you're waiting.
What, here?
Of course. Why not?
They'll all watch you.
Oh, certainly. I should be a poor dancer if they did not. Why do you object?
I want you to dance where only I can watch you.
Uh-huh. I see. That can be arranged after you've tried your luck with the dice.
Well, then let's go. Never mind the wine. Here's money for my bill. You may keep what's left.
Why do you leave the table, Joel?
Melissa, I've lost half my fortune. Think of it. Half my fortune in an hour.
Don't act so upset. You must learn to smile as you lose. Otherwise they will take you for a country boy.
But half my fortune.
Oh, so tonight you lose. Tomorrow you will win. Come, forget about it.
Yes, I suppose so. Yes, it was a streak of bad luck. Tomorrow will be different.
That's better. Let us go.
Where now?
To a place I know, where I can dance for your eyes only.
And after he had spent all, there came a grievous famine over that country, and he began to suffer want.
Father, what is it? Still worrying about Joel? It's been a whole year, Nathan, and I have not heard from him. Oh, he's probably having too good a time to think of writing. But I'm worried. There is famine in the Damascus region. Yes, I talked to a caravan captain today. He said that people were starving. Then you may be sure Joel has left. Come, Father. Don't worry about him. He will look out for himself. Ah, how easy for a child to tell a father not to worry. You may as well tell the rivers to stop running to the sea.
What do you want?
Let me in. Please, Melissa.
Oh, go away and don't bother me.
Please see me, Melissa.
Oh, all right. Well, you've changed, Joel.
Melissa, you must help me. I'm starving.
There's many who starve in Damascus.
Melissa, please remember, when I had money, how I brought you rings and bracelets.
Yes. You did give me a few trinkets.
Let me take one of them, borrow it, and get some food.
You gave them to me. They're mine.
Melissa, look at me. See how my hands shake. It is from want of food.
Why don't you go back to your father? He has a big farm where there's plenty to eat.
I can't go back after the way I've treated him.
Then go to work.
I've tried to work. There's nothing. I would do anything. Anything.
Do you mean that?
Yes, anything.
You're a farmer.
No, I am.
And have tended flocks?
Yes.
Then I'll speak to a friend of mine.
You will? When?
He's coming to town today. Now, will you go?
Yes, thank you, Melissa.
Joel, you'll have to be very hungry to take the work.
Why, what is it?
Tending swine.
And he went and joined one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his farm to feed swine. And he longed to fill himself with the pods that the swine were eating, but no one offered to give them to him.
Who is that?
You must not kick your master's swine, Joel.
Melissa, what are you doing here?
Here there is food. In Damascus there's none.
And the master, does he give you food when you have no money?
I dance. For his eyes alone, Joel. As I did for you in Damascus.
When I had money.
When you had money, yes.
How many hired men in my father's house have bread in abundance, while I am perishing here with hunger.
Joel, why don't you go home?
I told you I can't. I'd be ashamed to. Look at me.
Go, before it's too late. You'll starve here, and be buried, and your father will sit into his old age, wondering until his last gasp whether you are dead or alive. Bad as I am, Joel, I would not punish anyone like that.
But you, haven't you a home?
Yes, in Greece.
Well, why don't you go back?
2 years ago, I had a friend send word that I was dead.
I won't do that, Melissa. I shall go home to my father and acknowledge my ingratitude.
And he arose and went to his father. But while he was yet a long way off, his father saw him, and was moved by compassion, and ran and fell upon his neck and kissed him.
Joel, my
Father.
son. Oh, my son, my son. Oh, praise God you have come back to me.
Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. I am no longer worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired men.
No, my son. We thought you dead. Come, let me take you home.
How can I enter your house? Look upon these rags, my unshaved beard. Look upon a man who squandered his fortune. Look upon one not worthy to call you father.
I look upon you, and I see only Joel, my younger son. Come, Joel. Servants, quickly! You fetch the best robe and put it on him and give him a ring for his finger. And sandals for his feet. And you, steward, bring out the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and make merry. Because this, my son, was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and is found. And dispatch a man to the neighbors and tell them to come to a feast. And you, girl.
Yes, master?
Stand watch for Nathan riding in from the fields, and tell him his brother has returned.
Girl, what's happened? Why is there music in the house?
Thy brother has come home.
What? Joel? Joel has returned?
Thy father sent me to watch for you and to tell you. And thy father has killed the fattened calf because he has got him back safe. And the neighbors have been called in and they are celebrating. And thy father waits most anxiously thy coming.
Tell my father I will not come to the feast.
Nathan?
I told him as you instructed, master. But he became angry and said, "Tell my father I will not come to the feast."
Where did he go?
He lashed his horse and rode toward the barns.
Very well, go in and help serve. Should I be missed, say I will be back shortly. Nathan?
Yes, Father?
How is it you stay with the sheep and the oxen, and do not come to welcome your brother?
Behold, these many years I have been serving thee, and have never transgressed one of thy commands.
How well I know that, Nathan. Never once did you give me cause to worry over you.
And yet thou hast never given me a kid that I might make merry with my friends. But when this thy son comes who has devoured his means with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fattened calf.
Son, thou art always with me, and all that is mine is thine.
And what recognition do I receive for being a dutiful son?
Nathan, you were never lost to me as was Joe. You were never given up for dead. You have never sinned.
And you want me to sit by this sinner and rejoice?
Yes, Nathan. He sinned. But he has repented and has asked to be forgiven.
Of course you did.
Nathan, he came to me ragged and starving, and he said to me, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. I am no longer worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired men. And would you or any man give a stone to him who asked for bread?
Well, No, I suppose not.
Are we not bound to make merry and rejoice? For this thy brother was dead and has come to life. He was lost and is found. Can those of us who have never known sin refuse to welcome one who has? To deny them welcome is to deny them hope of forgiveness. Unless the good can forgive the bad, Nathan, this world will forever be a bitter place for all of us.
But, Father, must I go out and wallow in sin before you will kill for me the fattened calf?
So that is it. Nathan, the fattened calf was killed for both my sons and for our friends and neighbors, so that all could feast at the table of forgiveness, where mercy is bestowed by those who have it to give upon those who are in need of it. Son, thy brother is in need of your mercy, even as thou art in need of his yearning to receive it from thee.
Come, Father. Let us go into the feast.
And Jesus told this story that the just might understand the attitude of God toward the repentant ones and rejoice in the return of one who was lost. The Braemore Friars present the Ave Maria Hour. The Braemore Friars Monastery is located on Atonement Mountain, near Garrison, New York. Adjacent to this famous monastery, one sees St. Christopher's Inn. Homeless men from all walks of life come to this famous inn. These men are fed and sheltered by the Braemore Friars, and no distinction is ever made of race, creed, or color. you are invited to listen to another chapter of the dramatized story, The Life of Christ, brought to you transcribed each week by the Graymore Friars, who offer this series with a prayerful hope that this vivid portrayal of the life of Christ will help to awaken in you a deeper personal love of God and a firm determination to strive to prove that love in your daily life. Now, Chapter 31, The Raising of Lazarus. And Jesus remained near the spot where John had baptized, and continued to teach the crowds and his disciples. And he spoke to them in parables.
There was a certain rich man who had a steward who was reported to him as squandering his possessions. And he called him and said to him, "What is this that I hear of thee? Make an accounting of thy stewardship, for thou canst be steward no longer." And the steward said within himself, "What shall I do, seeing that my master is taking away the stewardship from me? To dig I am not able, to beg I am ashamed. I know what I shall do, that when I am removed from my stewardship, they may receive me into their houses." And he summoned each of his master's debtors, and said to the first, "How much dost thou owe my master?" And he said, 100 jars of oil. He said to him, "Take thy bond, and sit down at once, and write 50. Then he said to another, "How much dost thou owe?" He said, 100 cors of wheat. And he said, "Take thy bond, and write down 80.
"But, master, this was a false recording of the debt. Surely the rich man found it out and punished the steward."
And the master commended the unjust steward, in that he had acted prudently.
What? To be sure, the steward prepared for his own future, but at the expense of his master.
Jesus is not talking about the theft, but the wisdom worldly people have in preparing for the future.
For the children of this world, in relation to their own generation, are more prudent than the children of light. And I say to you, make friends for yourself with the mammon of wickedness, so that when you fail, they may receive you into the everlasting dwelling.
But the steward was a thief. He should have been punished.
My friend, you don't understand.
Suppose you clear it up for me.
Surely you do not think the master is commending thievery. All he is saying is that the children of light must benefit from the worldly shrewdness of this steward, and be as wise and clever in providing for their souls in the future, as was this thief in providing for his worldly needs.
He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful in much. He who is unjust in a very little thing is unjust also in much. Therefore, if in the case of the wicked mammon you have not proved faithful, who will entrust you to what is true? And if in the case of what belongs to another you have not proved faithful, who will give you what is your own? No servant can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon.
Now the Pharisees, who were fond of money, were listening to all these things, and they began to sneer at him.
What saying is this? Is it not written in the law that treasure is God's reward for those who obey his word? and poverty the reward of the disobedient? You go against the law, for the riches men hold are awarded to them by God for their justness.
You are they who declare yourselves just in the sight of men.
Would God have blessed us with riches if we were unworthy?
But God knows your heart. For that which is exalted in the sight of men is an abomination before God.
And would you reverse the law by taking from the rich who have earned their reward, and giving to the poor who have also earned their reward?
Until John came, there were the law and the prophets. Since then the kingdom of God is being preached, and everyone is forcing his way into it.
You seem to make a distinction between what the law was before John came and after. Are you saying that the law has changed?
Yet it is easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one tittle of the law to fail.
Now, as Jesus was saying these things to the Pharisees and others near the crossing of the Jordan, a day's journey away at Bethany, a certain man was sick, Lazarus, brother of Mary and Martha. Now Jesus loved Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus, and in their hour of need they besought him.
He sleeps, Martha. Yes, Mary, but his breathing is heavy and irregular. I saw the look on the doctor's face. Lazarus is dying. Yes. Martha, if Jesus were but here, he would reach out and save him, as he has for so many. Dare we send for him to come, when they in Jerusalem hate him so? He would not like it if our brother died and he not be told he was ill. Then let's send for him at once. He's but a day's journey from here. Our friends are traveling to where he is. I'll run and give them the message.
Now it so happened that when the friends arrived at the place where Jesus was, he was talking to the crowds about a poor man also named Lazarus, and a certain rich man.
There was a certain rich man who used to clothe himself in purple and fine linen, and who feasted every day in splendid fashion. And there was a certain poor man named Lazarus, who lay at his gate, covered with sores, and longing to be filled with the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs would come and lick his sores. And it came to pass that the poor man died, and was borne away by the angels into Abraham's bosom. But the rich man also died, and was buried in hell. And lifting up his eyes, being in torments, he saw Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said to him, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime hast received good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted, whereas thou art tormented. And besides all that, between us and you a great gulf is fixed, so that they who wish to pass over from this side to you cannot, and they cannot cross from your side to us.
He was right. The man got what he deserved.
He should have been more charitable.
Then he said, Then, Father, I beseech thee to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify to them, lest they too come into this place of torments. And Abraham said to him, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hearken to them. But he answered, No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. But he said to him, If they do not hearken to Moses and the prophets, they will not believe, even if someone rises from the dead.
Aye, that is the truth.
Master, travelers from Bethany have just arrived with a message for you. The sisters Mary and Martha bade them say, Lord, behold, he whom you lovest is sick.
Lazarus sick? Master, he is our friend.
This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that through it the Son of God may be glorified.
Ah, then it's best you go not into Judea.
And saying this, Jesus again lifted up his voice and taught the people about him and his disciples, and they were eager for his words. But while they were listening to the words of everlasting life, at Bethany, Lazarus was dead.
Come, Mary. It's almost sundown.
I looked to the road, hoping to see Jesus.
Our brother died soon after the message was sent.
I know. Yet I hope.
Come. They're taking Lazarus into the tomb. We have little time before the rock will seal the opening.
And at the crossing, Jesus continued to address the crowds. And 2 days had passed since the message from Bethany had reached him.
It is impossible that scandals should not come. But woe to him through whom they come.
Lord, increase our faith.
If you have faith, even like a mustard seed, you will say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. But which of you is there, having a servant plowing or tending sheep, who will say to him on his return from the field, come at once and recline at the table? But will he not say to him, prepare my supper, and gird thyself and serve me till I have eaten and drunk, and afterwards thou thyself shalt eat and drink? Does he thank the servant for doing what he commanded him? I do not think so. Even so you also, when you have done everything that was commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done what it was our duty to do.
To what place do you next take us, Master?
Let us go again into Judea.
No, Master. Master, please, you must
Rabbi,
not.
just now the Jews were seeking to stone thee. And dost thou go there again?
Are there not 12 hours in the day? If a man walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if he walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him. Lazarus, our friend, sleeps, but I go that I may wake him from sleep.
Lord, if he sleeps, he will be safe.
Lazarus is dead.
Dead? Master, then do not risk your life. There's nothing more to be done for him.
And I rejoice on your account that I was not there, that you may believe. But let us go to him.
Master, no. Listen to us. Master, they will stone you.
Come, let us go, that we may die with him.
And Jesus and his disciples left that place and went toward Bethany, which was some 15 stadia distance from Jerusalem. And many of the Jews had come out to Martha and Mary to comfort them on account of their brother.
He was a good man.
Aye, Lazarus was a good man.
Mary. What is it, Martha?
Jesus is coming.
When? Where is
Soon. You remain here. I'll go to meet him.
Someone comes. It is Martha.
It's too late, Master. Lazarus is in his tomb 4 days.
May God rest your soul.
Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that whatever thou shalt ask of God, God will give it to thee.
Thy brother shall rise.
I know that he will rise at the resurrection on the last day.
I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, even if he die, shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Dost thou believe this?
Yes, Lord. I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, who hast come into the world. Mary, the Master is here and calls thee.
He is here?
Yes. Yes. I told him it was too late and our brother is in his tomb.
Martha, there seems to be a gladness about you. Your eyes shine like stars on a frosty night.
Yes, because I've spoken with him.
What did he say?
He said to me, I am the resurrection and the life. Then he asked me if I believed it, and I said, Yes, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God. Now go to him, for he asks that you come.
Yes, at once.
When therefore the Jews who were with her in the house and were comforting her saw Mary rise up quickly and go out, they said, She is going to the tomb to weep. And they followed her.
Master! Master!
She is running to Jesus. She falls at his feet and sobs.
Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother would not have died.
Where have you laid him?
Lord, come and see.
See how he loved him.
Yes, they were such good friends.
Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind have caused that this man should not die? Come, we're going to the tomb.
Take away the stone.
Lord, by this time he's already decayed, for he's dead 4 days.
Have I not told thee that if thou believe, thou shalt behold the glory of God?
Servants, remove the stone.
Father, I give thee thanks that thou hast heard me. Yet I knew that thou always hearest me. But because of the people who stand around I spoke, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. Lazarus, come forth. Lazarus, come forth.
Why does he mock the dead with this? Has he no feeling for those who mourn this man? Stop it! Stop it!
Please! Please!
What's that?
I heard it in the tomb. Listen. I'm frightened. What can it be? Lazarus!
My brother lives.
Lazarus! Lazarus!
Unbind him and let him go.
Let us leave this place at once, Master, lest they come seeking thee.
A miracle.
A miracle.
A miracle.
Many, therefore, of the Jews who had come to Mary and had seen what he did believed in him. But some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them the things that Jesus had done. Thereupon they gathered in council, for they were greatly concerned.
You've all heard the word from Bethany. Lazarus, dead 4 days in the tomb, has been raised by Jesus.
And what are we doing? For this man is working many signs.
We must do something.
Caiaphas, if we let him alone as he is, all will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away our place and our nation.
We have had wonder workers before.
Never one like this man. Never one who raised a man from the tomb. The people are flocking to him, even out of Jerusalem. It's said those of Galilee once tried to make him king. They may do so again, and he may permit it. We know how well that would sit with Pilate and Rome. We must act, Caiaphas, before it's too late.
Now that you have had your say, listen to me. There is nothing to become disturbed about. Do you not know we've had our eyes on Jesus even as we had on John the Baptist? And where is John now? Do you think we are so unmindful of the consequences that we have neglected to take precaution against Jesus or any of these wonder workers rising to become a king? You who say the Romans will destroy our nation, you know nothing at all. Nor do you reflect that it is expedient for us that one man die for the people, instead of the whole nation perishing.
How shall this one man of whom you speak die?
Now I can tell you that Pilate has been interested for some time in this man. And you may be sure his spies have reported to him. I have convinced him that we of the Sanhedrin are as anxious as he that no agitator arise to disturb the balance of understanding between Rome and Judea. And you may be sure that at the time of our choosing, an expedient sacrifice will be offered up to Rome, so that our nation does not perish.
But Caiaphas, what is the proper time? How long must we wait?
The proper time is now.
So from that day forth, their plan was to put Jesus to death.
Lazarus is dead, and I rejoice on your account that I was not there, that you may believe.
During the next half hour, the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations have made their facilities available to the National Council of Catholic Men as a public service for the presentation of the Catholic Hour. Today, the Catholic Hour celebrates its 14th year on the air. We ask your prayers that this radio hour may ever become a more and more perfect means of spreading light, hope, and inspiration among its listeners. On today's program, the Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen will deliver the 10th in a series of 16 addresses under the general title, One Lord, One World. The choir of the Church of the Blessed Sacrament, New York City, under the direction of Warren Foley, will provide appropriate music. Since March 2nd, 1930, when the Catholic Hour was broadcast for the first time, its programs have been given under the patronage of the Blessed Mother of our Lord. It is only fitting, then, that this anniversary broadcast should open with a hymn to Our Lady, the well-loved Ave Maria by Bach in the setting of Gounod. The Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen now addresses the Catholic Hour audience. Monsignor Sheen has entitled today's talk, The Second Word to the Cross, a Word to Sinners. Monsignor Sheen.
Friends, there are two ways of coming to God. through the preservation of innocence and through the loss of it. Some have come to God because they were good, like Mary, who was full of grace, like Joseph, the just man, like Nathanael, in whom there was no guile, or like John the Baptist, the greatest man ever born of woman. But others have come to God who were bad, like the young man of the Gerasenes, possessed of devils, like Magdalene, out of whose corrupt soul the Lord cast 7 devils, and like the thief at the right, who spoke the second word to the cross. The world loves the mediocre. The world hates the very good and the very bad. The good are a reproach to the mediocre, and the evil are a disturbance. That is why Christ was crucified with thieves. This is his true position. Jesus among the worthless ones. During his life he was accused of eating and drinking with sinners, and now they accuse him of dying with them. Here is the supreme instance of the right man in the right place. Christ among the bandits. The Redeemer in the midst of the unredeemed. The physician among the lepers. For God does not work through culture, but through grace. Thus does God show that we become great, not because of what we are, but because of what he gives. God, in his infinite wisdom, has reached deep into the lower layers of humanity and picked out of its dregs 2 worthless derelicts, and he used one of them as the escort of his eternal Son. At the beginning of the crucifixion, both thieves cursed and blasphemed the Savior. But suddenly the soul of one of them, the thief at the right, lighted by fires from that central cross, turned to a king who was being mocked and asked to be one of his subjects. For he said, Lord, remember me when thou shalt come into thy kingdom. Lord. He called him Lord. A real king is so easy to approach. Remember me. There was a touch of humor in asking God to remember. God had remembered him before he was born. That is why he was immortal. God had been following his souls down the corridor of time, and now this pursued us, the pursuer, to remember. When thou shalt come into thy kingdom. How did the thief know he had a kingdom? Maybe the crown of thorns spoke of a diadem, the crucifixion of a coronation, the nails of a scepter, and the blood of royal purple. We can never judge people by the way they are dressed. No prayer to God is ever unanswered. And so from the central cross there flashed back, this day thou shalt be with me in paradise. This day. Evil has its hour, but God has his day. Thou, he calleth his sheep by name. This was the foundation of Christian democracy, the value of a person. The soul of an outcast is of such value that the eternal word addresses him in the second person singular, thou shalt be with me in paradise. I wonder why he said in paradise. To be with him is paradise. The mob on Calvary asked him to come down from the cross, and the thief asked to be taken up. The masses would have believed if he preached a religion without a cross. But the thief found his faith by hanging on a cross. This is the supreme instance of one bringing good out of evil. It is doubtful if the thief would have found goodness otherwise. Why is it that this thief found salvation? It can only be because the capacity for conversion is greater in the really wicked than in the self-satisfied and complacent. The very emptiness of souls of the sinners is in itself an occasion for receiving the compassion of God. Self-disgust is the beginning of conversion, for it marks the death of pride. And may it not be that the conversion of the good thief is the key to the conversion of the modern world. Men will return to God in this world, not just because they are good, but because they recognize that they are evil. In this modern day, men will come to God through evil rather than through goodness. Or shall we say, they will come to God through the devil. Countless are the instances mentioned in the Gospel of those who came to God after Satan was driven out of their souls. The French revolutionist Sower predicted that the basic problem of the 20th century would be the problem of evil. And everyone knows this is the century of evil and insanity. The 19th century foreshadowed this in one of its most outstanding writers, Dostoevsky, the Russian, who believed that the world would be saved after it had passed from Antichrist to Christ. An English philosopher in our own day makes this typical modern approach of finding God in the very midst of evil. None of the explanations given by his contemporaries concerning evil are satisfactory to him. The socialist explanation of evil in terms of economic inequality and injustice he rejects. Very aptly he says, for if poverty is the root of all evil, then money must be the source of all virtue. And then he rejects the psychological explanation of evil, which attributes evil to suppressed desires and thwarted sex libidos, all of which, according to the modern mind, could be abolished by popularizing aesthetics and by extending the blessings of the machine and the ballot. And he asks himself, was no rich man ever cruel? Was no unrepressed man ever tyrannical? Was no self-expressive child selfish? Evil is not merely a byproduct of unfavorable circumstances. It is so widespread and so deep-seated that one can only conclude that that which religion has taught is true, namely that evil is endemic in the heart of man. And that it is. It is in our blood. It flows through our veins. It gives life to the brain when it thinks evil. It energizes the will when it kills. It fires the muscles when it drops bombs. And it persecutes the prayerful. In the face of that evil which is endemic in the human heart, this truth finally emerges. To overcome evil, we must begin to recognize that it is evil. And there's no hope for the world until we do recognize sin as sin. There's hope for those who are deaf and who want to hear. For the lame who want to walk. There is hope for the diseased who acknowledge the need of a physician. And there is hope for a sinner who recognizes the need of a Redeemer. The thief at the right conquered evil just that way. By admitting his emptiness of soul, he called upon God to save him. There is only one thing in the world that is worse than sin. And that is denying that we are sinners. And that is the tragedy of the world in which we live. It denies sin. Never before in the history of the world was there so much evil. And never before so little consciousness of it. We blame everyone except ourselves. Talk to a modern man about recognizing and reconciling his soul with God, and this is what he will say to you. What have I ever done to him? I leave him alone. Why shouldn't he let me alone? Why does the modern man say this? Well, for the very same reason that a healthy man might say to a surgeon who wished to operate on him, "There's nothing wrong with me. Leave me alone." In like manner, if you are your own law, if you set your own standards, if you are your own God, then it is nonsense to ask to be reconciled to another God. As a man gets more wicked, he understands his wickedness less and less. Just as when a man's fever climbs to a point of deliriousness, he understands his sickness less and less. He may even think himself so healthy that he wants to go to work. The more we are in sin, the less we know sin. As the sounder we are asleep, the less we know we are asleep. We have to wake up before we know we were asleep. A moderately bad man knows he is not good. A very bad man thinks he's good. When, therefore, you reach a point when you cease calling yourself idiotic and do not mean it, and begin to call yourself a rotter and really mean it, you are on the pathway of the good bandit that leads to conversion. The perception of guilt is the condition of conversion, as the perception of disease is the condition of remedy. And so long as we think we are good, we will never, never find God. If you think you know it all, how can God teach you? There's a peculiar thing about pride. We will admit we are ill-tempered or that we are intemperate. But have you ever in your life known anyone who admitted that he was proud and conceited? We all deny that we are proud. We condemn pride so very vociferously in others that we deny we've ever been guilty of it ourselves. As a matter of fact, the more conceited we are, the more we hate conceit in others. The more we say, "I'm not conceited," the more we prove that we are conceited. Our pride, therefore, makes us look down on people so that we can never look up to God. And in order to look up to God, we needs must do two things. First, we must humble ourselves. And that is why Sunday after Sunday, we ask every Jew and Protestant and Catholic in our radio audience to set aside an hour a day for prayer and contemplation. I wonder how many of you are doing it. Catholics every morning should attend Mass and extend that morning Mass a half an hour and complete the Holy Hour. And then the second thing that we must do is we must live in humble service of our fellow men. And to cultivate that, we have published this little book entitled Friends, the purpose of which is to induce us to be friends with God and friends with ourselves, friends with Catholics, friends with Jews, and friends with Protestants. The very moment we stop strutting and posing and begin to see ourselves as we really are, then in our humility we shall be exalted. Let us therefore examine our conscience. Ask ourselves not how much we know, but how much we do not know. Not how good we are, but how bad we are. Let us judge ourselves not by the knowledge we possess, but by our consciences. Not by our education, but by our habits. Not by our politeness, but by our hearts. As soon as we feel a great void in our souls, and realize that because of our sinning we are no longer our own, and acknowledge that we are still thirsty at the border of a well, and admit that we have played the fool, and that our follies of the years mount up in their dark arrears, then out of a dark and swampy soul we cry out with the thief, as all Catholics do when they go to confession, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I am a sinner." Such is the beginning of salvation. And in that beginning we say to our Lord, "There are two things, dear Lord, which are not in your treasury, rich as you are. My sins and my sorrow. Make them thine, as thou didst make the sins and the sorrow of the thief thine." The thief died a thief, for he stole paradise. And if we win paradise, it will be because we are thieves too. For we will never deserve what we got, the God of everlasting love. And so, as a sinner to sinners, I say, may God have mercy on our souls. God love you.
Monsignor Sheen has just delivered an address entitled "The Second Word to the Cross, a Word to Sinners." You may obtain a copy of Monsignor Sheen's talk by writing to the National Council of Catholic Men, Washington, D.C., or to the station to which you are now listening. Owing to wartime conditions, we've not been able to send out copies of the little booklet Friends, which Monsignor Sheen has offered to all who will write for it. If you've not yet sent us your request for this booklet, please do so at once, so that you may receive your copy as soon as our shipment arrives from the printers. And now our thoughts turn to our crucified Savior, as the choir under Mr. Foley's direction sings "There is a Green Hill Far Away" by Gounod.
There is a green hill far away, without a city wall, where the dear Lord was crucified, who died to save us all. We cannot tell, for empty us love him too.
We now invite all those listening to join Monsignor Sheen in offering up this prayer in time of war.
O Lord Jesus Christ, who in thy mercy hearest the prayers of sinners, pour forth, we beseech thee, all grace and blessing upon our country and its citizens. We pray in particular for the President, for our Congress, for all our soldiers, for all who defend us in ships, whether on the seas or in the skies, for all who are suffering the hardships of war. We pray for all who are in peril or in danger. Bring us all after the troubles of this life into the haven of peace, and reunite us all together forever, O dear Lord, in thy glorious heavenly kingdom.
Next Sunday at this time, Monsignor Sheen will deliver a talk entitled, The Third Word to the Cross, a Word to Marxists. And the choir of the Church of the Blessed Sacrament will perform the music on the program. We invite you to be with us then. Music on today's program was directed by Warren Foley. Your announcer is John Patrick Costello. The National Council of Catholic Men has presented the Catholic Hour through the facilities of the National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations, which have been made available as a public service and as a contribution to the religious life of America. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
This is the hour of St. Francis. Do you realize that everything you do, every word you say, makes somebody better or worse? St. Francis of Assisi realized that a long time ago, and he put into the rule he set down as a pattern of life for his third order this counsel: let them strive to lead others by good example. As a matter of fact, that's what he did, and is still doing. Although in his humility he never thought of himself as inspiring anybody. After 700 years, he is still leading thousands to the better life. It's the truth that everything you do either lifts somebody up or drags them down. Take the case of Dr. Joe Walton. This is a true story as told in the Reader's Digest by Octopus Roy Cohen, and brought to you now by the Hour of St. Francis. Up until 5 years ago, we always had just one doctor in Watertown. The sign in front of his house read, Joseph H. Walton, M.D., but everybody called him Uncle Joe. He was that kind of man, and Watertown's that sort of place. Quiet, friendly. Uncle Joe had brought most of the Watertown babies into this world. He was a part of the town we just took for granted, like the post office. And when we heard that a new doctor was coming to town, we started wondering how it was going to change things for us and for Uncle Joe. When this young Dr. Donald Kent came, just fresh out of uniform, he stayed at the hotel while his house was being fixed up. Uncle Joe came to call on him the first day. I was in the lobby when they met, and I couldn't help listening in. Dr. Kent was short and blond, and he had kind of a stiff way of talking. I'm Joe Walton.
How do you do, Doctor? It was good of you to call on me.
Oh, I just dropped by to say hello and tell you that this town needs a bright young man with bright young ideas. If there's anything I can do, just call on me.
Well, that's very gracious of you, Doctor.
Gracious, I'm darn happy to see you here. I've been working like a horse for the last 30 years. Maybe now I'll have time for a fishing trip once in a while.
It was a surprise to everybody in Watertown the way Dr. Kent filled up his practice. The young folks especially seemed to go for him. He made Uncle Joe look as out of date as a horse and buggy. We old-timers noticed other differences, especially in the way Dr. Kent talked to his patients. I remember one time I came down with an awful pain in my stomach, and my daughter called in Dr. Kent.
What is the specific location of your pain, Mr. Banks?
Well, location's in the stomach, but the specific...
What is the nature of the pain? Intermittent or persistent?
All I know is it hurts all the time. Can't sleep.
When did you first note its presence?
Well, sitting in the front room after supper, getting ready to...
Describe the nature of your evening meal.
It was a good supper, but I haven't had a mouthful since. We had boiled turnips, fried sea bass, and cabbage. Say, Doc, have you been fishing for bass in William Creek yet?
No. Is there any history of abdominal disorders in your immediate family? What was the nature of your father's last illness?
Well, Doc, I'd say he should have died from eating pickled pig's feet, but he's still alive and kicking. Father of 14, too. Hey, say, Doc, how come you're not married? Nice-looking young fella like you.
I'll leave you a prescription. Take it as directed. If pain persists, let me know. Good afternoon, Mr. Banks.
Well, the next time I got that pain, I called in Uncle Joe.
Sam, you do look kind of peaked. Hurt bad?
Oh, it's killing me, Uncle Joe. I don't know what it came from. I was just sitting down reading the paper after supper.
After supper, huh? What'd you have for supper?
Oh, we had lamb stew and creamed potatoes. Cabbage.
Cabbage? Sam Banks, didn't I tell you 20 years ago that cabbage was poison to you?
Well, yes. Doc, I felt fine before supper, then afterwards I got this pain.
Gas.
And,
all you got's a bellyache. Only trouble with you is that you like cabbage and it don't like you.
There was another thing about Dr. Kent that the old-timers kept shaking their heads about. He let everybody know that he didn't want to be called unless there was a real emergency. You had to swear on the book that you were dying before he came out at night. One day, Uncle Joe came to see Dr. Kent about this night call business. I got the story from Lizzie Caldwell, who is Dr. Kent's nurse.
Look, son, folks hear about things accustomed to this sort of treatment. You've got to be more available.
Doctor, you know as well as I do that 99% of these 3 a.m. emergencies aren't emergencies at all. I can't keep myself in a state of physical exhaustion, catering to fancied illnesses at fantastic hours.
Oh, I know most of them just think they're going to die, but that's the whole point, son. They're scared to death just thinking about dying. They need you to tell them they ain't.
I'm not unsympathetic, Doctor. But I don't propose to make myself the slave of my patients. I have to reserve some time and strength for research and study. I owe that much to my patients who are really ill.
Look, son, I got a suggestion. You've already got more practice than you can handle, so how about when you get night calls you don't want to take, how about letting me handle them for you?
What? Why, that's unheard of. You're the senior doctor. I ought to be taking work off your shoulders, not you off mine.
Son, you and I practice medicine differently. I'd like to take those calls. Seems like it'd make us both happier.
Oh? Yes. Yes, I suppose it would help you, Doctor. All right. I'll accept this arrangement.
In no time at all, the word got round that if you were Dr. Kent's patient, you wanted a doctor at some time like midnight at 3 a.m., you got Uncle Joe. Night after night, even when the weather was mighty bad, I'd hear his old car rattling around. Lizzie Caldwell told me Uncle Joe reported every case to Dr. Kent, and the young doctor got mad as a hornet every time.
They're just taking advantage of you, Doctor. Calling you clear over to the crossroad because their kid was throwing a tantrum. 5 trips to the Mastersons because they think their baby might arrive early. You are killing yourself.
I kind of enjoy dropping in on folks I'd never get to see otherwise.
Watertown folks built up quite a respect for Dr. Kent, but they loved Uncle Joe. Well, things went along that way until last spring when we had the accident. The school bus turned over while coming back from a picnic. The kids got spilled all over the road. Somebody sent for Uncle Joe, but when he got there, it was Dr. Kent who was straightening out the awful mess. He gave the orders, and everybody, including Uncle Joe, did just exactly what he told.
Keep the women away from here unless they're nurses. Tell them all the children are out of the bus. Mr. Walters, you drive to the nearest phone, call the county hospital. Tell them to send 3 nurses, anesthetic, fracture equipment, and an oxygen tent to my office immediately.
Dr. Kent, can you take Annie next? I can't get her leg straightened out.
Doctor, I'm trying to stop this boy from bleeding. Make her lie down and keep quiet. Put a coat over her. You men, build a fire. Find some more flashlights. Start putting these children here into the cars. Drive them straight to my office. We can't wait for ambulances.
Kent's some darn fool let Miss Roberts see her boys. She's crazy to know if you can do anything for him.
I'm going down with these operative cases, Doctor. You finish up here. There's nothing serious left.
Yeah, but now here, hold on. What can I tell Miss Roberts?
Tell her I'll do the best I can. I haven't time for hysterical women.
What happened to Dr. Kent's office during the next 24 hours, we got from Uncle Joe, when he could stand to talk about that night at all.
That boy did things only a surgical genius would dare do. We had 8 kids laid out in that office. He took one right after another, going just like a machine. Kept it up for 24 hours with no rest and nothing but a few sips of black coffee and a bite of a sandwich. If it hadn't been for him, we'd have been going to 12 funerals instead of to 4. That boy's not just a doctor. He's a genius.
When Watertown finally got over its shock, Dr. Kent was a hero. Folks still didn't warm up to him. He wasn't that kind of a man, but they idolized him. When the Chamber of Commerce got together to name the town's outstanding citizen, the one who gets a silver cup at the annual banquet, there was only one name mentioned, Dr. Kent. The whole town turned out for the banquet. The mayor gave the cup to Dr. Kent with a nice little speech.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Uncle Joe, he doesn't even look excited. He doesn't even look happy. He's not the excitable kind, Sam. He's happy, all right.
May I have silence for a moment, please? I assure you that what I did at the time of the bus accident is not deserving of any such credit as you are giving me tonight. Please. In every doctor, there is the hope that if a terrible thing must happen, he can be on the scene to display his own brilliance. There was almost an element of selfishness in what I did that night. Now, that accident was one happening of its kind in a period of many years.
Please, God, it'll be the last one.
But that, my friends, is not what is meant by the practice of medicine. You all know that for more than 3 years, I have confined myself to the more interesting phases of medicine and surgery. I have deliberately avoided as much of the unpleasant work as I could. Dr. Walton came to me with a suggestion that he handle such calls as I was unwilling to take.
I'm used to it.
At first, I thought he might be in need of the extra money he would make that way. I was wrong. Dr. Walton has never accepted 1 cent from me or from any of my patients he has attended. Then why did he make those long trips at night when he knew that the patient could wait? Why? My friends, I have finally arrived at the answer.
What's he running on about?
When one of my patients called me frantically at night, I failed to realize one thing. That patient was frightened. His family was terrified by something that they didn't understand, and they needed personal assurance. That I persistently refused to give them. And that is what Dr. Walton has always given. He has been the rock to which you have clung.
Everybody gets scared when they're sick. I always do.
From Dr. Walton, I have learned more about the noblest form of medical practice than is to be found in all the books. Dr. Walton has devoted his life to this town, asking no reward, expecting no recognition.
Mommy, darn the boy, don't look like he's about to cry.
So, I ask your permission to give this cup to the man who not only deserves it tonight, but who has always deserved it. I wish to present it to Dr. Joseph H. Walton, with the humble wish that someday I may be even half as great a doctor as he is. This cup belongs to you. Take it, Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe did not get the cup for what he did, but for what he was. His Christian example influenced one man, and through him a whole community. St. Francis of Assisi must love Uncle Joe. Indeed, Uncle Joe in his own way was like St. Francis in his unselfish way of living. And like St. Francis, he inspires us to live unselfishly for God and for our fellow man. This quarter hour has been brought to you by the Third Order of St. Francis.
Accompanied by Andrew and Simon, James and John, his first 4 disciples, Jesus traveled the roads of Galilee, bringing a new interpretation of God's kingdom to all who would listen.
You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist one who is evil. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone would sue you and take your coat, let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone would force you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles.
You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven.
In many places where he spoke, there were those who, having listened, hungered to hear more. Each day saw Jesus' fame grow greater. Travelers carried reports of him throughout the land of Israel, even to Herod's fortress castle of Machaerus on the desolate eastern shore of the Dead Sea, where John the Baptist was held prisoner.
finest charcoal in all the land of Moab, prepared with the greatest of care. Heated...
Don't waste your lies on me. I don't want any.
Well, now, look here. If you ever should, I can get you charcoal that
Hold
you never
your tongue. Didn't I tell you to bring the castle charcoal in new sacks?
These are the best we have.
The dust, it seeps through any cloth, old or new.
Seeps through. There's more charcoal on the outside than on the inside.
Ah, it washes off.
How would you know? All right, bring it in. Put it down there. Be careful. Look out, you clumsy ox. Stay where you are. You too. Turn sideways. Now, hold still.
Bring the bags down here. We'll stack them.
John? Master John?
Master. Here I am, my friends.
Master John.
Master John. Jim. Zilla. Good, faithful friends.
Easy. Next week we will overpower the guards and take the key.
The guards do not have the key.
Who does?
The chief jailer.
And we'll lay in wait for him.
And have 100 men hidden outside the wall to delay pursuit.
I forbid it.
But your life is at stake.
Perhaps.
Oh, Master, ordering one execution or 100 means nothing to Herod.
I'm still alive. Behold, I have been given the best cell. Permitted the luxuries of a lamp, a stool, a table. Even a longer chain than any other prisoner. But more than that, he has me brought to his chambers and he questions me at length.
Master, don't trust him.
Trust? I pity him.
You? His prisoner?
I speak the truth to him, and it perplexes him. I offer him salvation for his soul, and he draws back. He scoffs at the thought that I've been sent by the Lord. And yet he will neither free me, nor have me put to death, as the woman Herodias demands. Yes, I pity him. Herod Antipas, who rules as tetrarch of a great land, lives in a frightful shadow world of doubt and uncertainty. But perhaps if I can speak with him enough, I may be able to convince him.
But, Master, is he worth the risk?
May be the Lord's will that I am here.
It may also be his will that we help you to escape.
Until I know that it is, I will stay.
But, Master...
There is one thing you can do for me.
Anything.
Command us.
I've heard rumors, whispers, of the acts of Jesus of Nazareth. Tell me all you know of him.
Move faster, you soot-stained dog. Must you take all night to do an hour's work?
And as they were carrying the body through the city gate of Nain, Jesus beheld the mother, a poor widow, weeping bitterly. And he said to her, "Weep not." And then he touched the shroud, and he said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." And the youth sat up and spoke. That's how it was told to me.
They say that he is a great prophet, even that the Messiah himself may be walking among our people.
Have you talked with men who have seen these things?
No, Master. Only to those who have heard of them from others. The wonders were done in Galilee, not here.
Yes. I must know, beyond doubt. Go to Galilee. Seek him out.
To Galilee?
And when you have found him, ask him this. Are you he who is to come? Or shall we look for another? And then let me know. Let me know.
Far to the north, in the city of Capernaum on the shore of Galilee.
Judith!
Yes, father-in-law?
My throat is dry. Thank you. Are my sons back yet?
They will be soon.
Oh, I'm weak. So weak. When I was a young man, even when I was not so young, I'd match my strength with any man in Galilee.
I know. Elam has told me.
And when we'd pull in the nets, I'd outpull 2 men. 2 strong men.
Yes, father-in-law.
But now I have no strength. No strength at all.
You will have. Someday soon. When your illness is cured.
Cured? I'll never be cured.
Of course you will.
Now, what do I sniff for supper, sister? Breast of peacock or tongues of nightingale?
A stew of last night's haunch of mutton. You worked late today.
We fished at the far end of the lake.
Father? Father?
Is he asleep?
I think he's afraid to hear how bad our luck was or how the large seine was torn. I thought that would make you stop pretending.
Was the seine torn badly?
It wasn't hurt a bit.
Our catch was fairly good.
And you're not sleepy at all, are you?
I am old, weak, and useless now, Father.
Just keep taking the medicine as the physician ordered. Rest enough.
You can't blame him. He's been taking that herb draft for over a year.
I talked to him about the rabbi today. You know, the Nazarene, Jesus.
You waste your time.
Would it hurt to try? They say he has cured scores of people.
They say. Have you met any of them?
One.
Who?
The mother of Simon's wife. She was sick with the fever for days. And then he touched her. Just touched her. And she was well in no time at all.
Woman's gossip.
I wonder.
She told me so herself.
Didn't Simon and Andrew go away with the man?
Yes. James and John, too.
Where did they go?
They'll be back soon, perhaps tomorrow.
How did you know?
Well, Simon's wife told me. Promise me, when they come back, ask them to bring their master here.
No.
Why not, Father?
If it is God's will that I be like this, no Nazarene can change it. I don't believe in such...
Haber, look. Strange
strangers in our midst.
Elam, Haver. A pair of plow-pushing farmers from the look of them.
Judging from the dust on them, I'd say they were mule herders from a caravan. Well, if we are herders, we came to the right place for donkeys.
Good to see you. Haver, we knew you'd come back to the net.
Couldn't stay away, eh, Simon? Well, you're wrong twice. I just came to see how you were taking care of the boat. And my name isn't Simon, it's Peter.
Peter? Yes, the master renamed him Peter, after Petra, a rock, because he's strong, dependable, a regular foundation of a man.
Bad gouge in the boat here.
Yeah, those rocks off Kinnereth.
You truly believe in the Nazarene, don't you?
We wouldn't be following him unless we did.
These tales of his ability to cure all manner of illness, there's truth in them?
There is.
That he can cure any man?
Any man who has faith. Oh, your father's still sick? Take him to the master. Let him hear Jesus speak and look into his eyes.
He's too weak, too shaken with the palsy. And he'd never let us take him unless he believed.
But you can convince him. You and your brother should be able to.
How? When we aren't convinced ourselves. I wish I could believe, Andrew. Just as you do, but I can't. I know he's learned, that he's cured some men, but there's nothing new in what he preaches. It's like any rabbi, any scribe.
No, Elam, no.
Oh, yes, it is. I heard him myself in your own courtyard when he said he hadn't come to destroy the laws, but to fulfill them.
But you don't understand. By fulfilling, he means explaining, interpreting.
We know what that means, don't we? The Pharisees have been interpreting the laws for centuries, explaining new meanings, new rules, new observances, until no man but a scholar can live without breaking 10 a day.
No. Jesus speaks of God's law, as it always was, as it always will be. Not the twists, the turns, the confusions added by men. And he fulfills God's law by making it clear to every man.
Even to men who can't read or write?
Yes.
To men so busy earning the daily bread for their families, they hadn't time to turn scholar?
The kingdom of heaven is for all men.
For all men who have observed the laws. All the laws.
The kingdom is for all men. For you and for me and for everyone. And 4 simple rules will unlock its gate.
Just 4?
4. Repent, believe, love God, and love thy neighbor. It's as simple as that. I've heard the master say so.
Not once, but many times.
If it could only be true.
If you want proof, why don't you go to the master and ask him?
And look into his eyes as he answers. We'll talk with him.
This evening or tomorrow.
Why wait until then? Why not go now?
The catch to unload?
We'll help you.
Well, we're not dressed fit for talking to a rabbi.
He won't care. Working clothes. That's what we were wearing when he asked us to go with him. Come. Let's get the fish ashore. Then we'll take you to the master. Let him convince you.
Peter.
Then you can tell your father. Take
Peter.
him to the Nazarene.
Peter.
Yes?
There's no need to rush. Jesus left with James and John this morning.
Oh, yes. See those cousins of theirs?
I think so. James said they'd be back about sundown.
Good. We'll wait for them at the city gate. Come, brother. Let's see if you can still wrestle a basket of fish.
All right.
Don't you ever caulk a seam?
At every city gate stood a tax collector's stand. That, at the western entrance to Capernaum, was administered by Matthew ben Helphi, publican.
That will be 2 coppers. 2 coppers each. 4 altogether.
4 coppers?
4.
But I'll be lucky to get a denarii for the whole. I can't afford 4 coppers.
Then stay out of the city and pay none.
Master Publican, please, consider my problem. I pay the owner of the forest where I cut the wood, rent on the hut where my family dwell, tax on the house, tax on grain, on fish, on meat, on salt, and all from what 2 loads of wood will bring.
4 coppers. $8, 10, 12. That is a very nice catch.
There will be 3 silver shekels. Does that make the payment easier? You know, we have a lot in common, fishermen. I dare say the fish hate you as much as the taxpayers hate me. But as long as they're fish, there will be fishermen. As long as they're taxpayers, there will be...
vultures like you.
Well, well, son of Jonas. Back at last. I have missed you these many months.
I'm sure you have. A shekel's worth every working day.
Oh, much more than that. The tax has increased. All right, all right. Get this farther downwind. I heard that you two had become scholars. A follower of a young rabbi.
We have, of Jesus, the Nazarene.
Not that it's any concern of yours, unless you've got a tax on teaching or knowledge.
I will consider it. And while I do, you walk the dusty roads, poor and penniless, and beloved by all men. And I will dress in silks and live in comfort, and watch my wealth increase as all men hate me. And then we'll see who is the happiest.
Will it be you, Matthew?
I think so, Rabbi, I think so. I'm an humble man. I have no hope for heaven. So I must be content with earthly things. A minor paradise bought with gold. I have position, security, comfort. I am a contented man. All men hate me because they envy me. If I can't find happiness with all I have, how can I find it with less? Where else could I turn? If there be a better way, tell me.
Follow me. Jesus preaches that we should love our enemies. But a publican.
Leave me alone. Oh, leave me alone.
But they'll be here any moment, bringing the healer with them.
Healer?
Yes, healer. He returned last night. And if your sons talk with him today and bring him here... Don't you want to be well? To be strong and fit again?
Do you think I could?
Oh, of course. I know you could. There's a magic in this man's hands. A power beyond all explaining. Oh, you'll see. Did you see the rabbi today?
We saw him.
Is he coming here?
No.
Couldn't Andrew or Simon persuade him to come?
I doubt if the rabbi has time for such as us. He's too busy with his latest follower, Matthew, the publican.
The whole city to pick from. He chooses a tax collector to be one of his disciples.
Are we to ask help from a man like that?
You're sure?
We stood and saw and listened.
There was no mistake.
But what difference does it make? Are you going to let this kindness to a publican stand in the way of your father's health?
You know we wouldn't.
More than that.
Andrew says one must have faith in order to be cured.
How can we have faith in a man who's a companion to publicans?
That night, the publican, Matthew ben Helphi, gave a great feast to honor the man he had decided to follow. And many of the tax collectors of Capernaum sat at meat with him.
I was hoping you'd come.
Only to see if you and James and John still followed a lover of tax collectors.
What if the tax collector is no longer a tax collector? Matthew has pledged himself to give all his wealth to the poor and follow the master just as we do. But come inside with me. Talk with them. Learn for yourself.
We've seen enough from here.
Disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful that a man who sets himself up as a teacher can choose the company of publicans.
Not only that, but to allow his followers to drink, gorge on a day of fasting.
Today? Not one of the great days to observe, but one every truly learned man should know.
All Pharisees observe it.
And our scribes. But either this Nazarene carpenter has never heard of it, or cares so little for sacred law that he ignores it. I wonder which excuse he would give.
Why not ask him? They're coming out.
You, my man, one question. Why does your master eat with tax collectors and sinners?
Why, he has every right to.
Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.
The disciples of John fast often and offer prayers, and so do the Pharisees. But yours eat and drink.
Can you make wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast in those days. And no one puts a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch tears away from the garment, and a worse tear is made. Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. If it is, the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and so both are preserved.
Those who are well have no need of a physician. This afternoon at the shore, when Peter said the kingdom of heaven was for all men, I wanted to believe. But I still had my doubts.
And I, too. Particularly after Jesus was so friendly with Matthew.
Tell me, would the Nazarene choose unworthy men as his followers? Men too lowly to enter the kingdom?
No. No.
And yet he chose Andrew, Peter, James, John, fishermen like ourselves.
And now the publican.
Certainly, if such a man is worth...
Put it down. Let us through, please. Let us through, friends. We have a very sick man here.
The master speaking.
Please, open the way.
For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds.
Let's take it around to the rear.
You both know me, and you know whence I come, and I am not come of myself, but he that sent me is true, whom you know not. But I know him, for I am from him, and he hath sent me.
Our authority is the Scripture, which we have scanned, studied. By what authority do you speak?
The Father who sent me has himself borne witness to me. His voice you have never heard. His form you have never seen. And you do not have his word abiding in you, for you do not believe him whom he has sent. You search the Scriptures because you think that in them you have eternal life, and it is they that bear witness to me. Yet you refuse to come to me that you may have life. How can you believe, who receive glory from one another, and do not seek the glory that comes from the only God?
Master! Master!
Our apologies, Master. We couldn't get to the door.
This is our father, Master.
Cure him of his affliction, as we know you can.
Take heart.
Your sins are forgiven you.
How dare he speak so?
Who can forgive sins but God alone?
Blasphemy, blasphemy!
Why do you question in your hearts? Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven you, or to say, rise and walk? But that you may know the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, I say to you, rise, take up your bed and walk.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our play today, by Harold Rosenberg, is an adaptation of the original French of Jean Racine's classic drama Athalie. Featured in the cast are Anne Seymour in the role of Athalie and Raymond Edward Johnson as Jehoiada, the high priest.
Had reigned in Judah after David. And then a woman sat on the sacred throne, Queen Athaliah. Death and murder had placed her there, for her husband died in misery and her son was slain. Then Athaliah murdered her son's children, the heirs of David, so that she might rule over Judah. For 6 years, the murderous Athaliah sat islanded on her throne, surrounded and safeguarded by a sea of death. And Baal, the idol of sensuality, reigned with Athaliah in Jerusalem, and the queen hated God. And her Tyrian gods hunted those still loyal to David's house, and her priests of shame threatened the holy temple itself. Judah lay helpless under the terror of this hard, jealous woman, when suddenly, one morning in her palace at dawn,
No. Your Highness, I thought I heard... Go away.
The priest of Baal is here.
Huh?
It's Matan, madam.
Matan. Yes. Bring him here.
Bring Athaliah. Are you safe? What has happened?
I was dreaming. I saw...
Praise to Baal. Only a dream. For a moment I thought...
I was being murdered.
There's always the danger of conspiracy. The Hebrews are still not entirely pacified.
No, Matan. I've killed my enemies. The accursed race of David is destroyed. Jerusalem has never been more peaceful.
Queen, what then?
A dream. I should have dreamed disturbed me, Matan. I, who have been capable of any act. Listen. I seemed to awaken in an endless night. Suddenly my mother Jezebel was standing at my bedside at dawn, and with her eyes painted as on the day she died.
Are you afraid, Athalie? Yes, you should be, my poor child. You too will fall into the hands of the living God. Oh, I pity you, my daughter. My daughter.
And her shadow stooped over my bed, and I reached out to embrace her. My fingers touched a mangled corpse, rags soaked in blood, flesh and bones that dogs had fought over.
Great Baal. Exactly how Queen Jezebel was slain.
I swooned backwards into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, a young man stood before me in the white robes of a Hebrew priest. The sight of him revived me. His sweet face, his charm, his grace soothed my heart.
Sweet boy, who are you? Your glance is so noble, as if you were of royal race. Tell me who... No, don't do it. No!
Still with the look of innocence on his face, the boy drew a dagger and stabbed me through the heart.
My queen, it is but a chance combination of things typical of a dream.
Oh, Matan, I try to think of it that way. But I've had this same dream before, and I cannot escape it. You've stabbed me again and again. The horror of it is haunting my mind. There is only one thing left to do. I must go to the temple of the Judeans.
Oh, don't venture among your enemies, my queen. Order the temple destroyed.
Be patient, Matan. It will surely come to that later. But now, I must go there. I feel that in the temple, I shall learn about the boy in my dreams.
At dawn on the day when loyal Judeans were to celebrate the giving of the law on Mount Sinai, celebrated in sadness for the wreck of David's house, Abner, a royal officer still loyal to Judea, came to the temple before services began. In the portico, he met the high priest, Jehoiada.
Happy holiday, O high priest.
Happy holiday, Abner.
We still say happy holiday. But alas, how times have changed, even for us who are not old. How joyful the temple used to be on this day, all covered with beautiful festoons and wreaths. And when the sacred trumpet blew, what crowds came through the gates, each man bearing the first fruits of his fields to the God of Israel. Now the people run to the shameful mysteries of Baal.
Malice of one woman has caused all this.
I fear she may go even further.
What more can this tyrant do? Already she's blotted out David's royal line by murdering her own son's children.
You yourself may be in danger, and this house of God. Athalie is in a dark mood, and Matan, who rules her mind, speaks of the temple as if some secret menace were hidden here.
Suppose there were, Abner. Where would you stand?
What are you saying, Jehoiada?
For 6 years, an idol-worshipping alien has usurped David's throne, having dared to bathe her hands in the blood of our kings. And you, an officer trained in the camp of our great king, Jehoshaphat, stand as a prop in this criminal state.
You know I fear the God of Israel and act. What can I do? Since David's line was wiped out, Judah has lost its old daring. They feel that our God has forsaken us.
Forsaken us? Our generation has seen the lying prophets overwhelmed and heavenly fire fall on the altar. The powerful Jezebel dragged on the earth for her crimes.
But where is the promised reign of David that was to bring peace to the world?
Why do you doubt God's word?
Is not the tree of David dead to the roots? Can the babies that Athalie slaughtered rise from the grave? If one had escaped, if only one son were left at David's house.
Suppose such a boy were alive.
Why, everything would be changed. Our faith would return, our tribes would rise. But why torment ourselves? We saw all the princes die.
Let's go now. Prepare for the morning prayers. Farewell, Abner.
You understand, Jehoiada, if there's anything I can do...
Abner, you will see that when God has promised, His will is done.
Jehoiada the high priest had a secret reason for his hope. For when Athaliah destroyed the royal seed, Joash, one of the king's sons, was stolen alive from among the slain and hidden from Athaliah in the house of the Lord. The boy served at the altar under the name of Eliakim, and none but Jehoiada and Jehoshaphat his wife knew who he was. But now, Athaliah was making even this dangerous security impossible.
I am afraid we shall not be able to hide the boy much longer, Jehoshaphat. We must act, or see incense offered to Baal on the holy altar.
Jehoiada, what can we do?
Show the boy to the people and openly declare him heir to the throne today, when every faithful Judean is at the temple. There is no other way. Only in an heir of David will the people find the courage to revolt.
But when Athaliah hears that a royal child lives, won't she order her foreign troops to attack the temple at once? Who will stand against her bands?
Our priests and our Levites.
Can their faith make warriors of them? Oh, Jehoiada, what can their innocent hands, always lifted in prayer, know of fighting and bloodshed? Would Athaliah succeed once more?
Have you forgotten that the God of Moses, Joshua, and David fights on our side? God who protects innocent orphans and who hates tyrants?
Forgive me, my husband, but I still see that horrible room filled with young princes, and Athaliah, a dagger in her hand, urging on the barbarian gods who are murdering them, and Joash bleeding, left for dead.
God wants us to trust him, Jehoshaphat. A king must sit on the throne of David.
So the end of the Shavuot services was set for the act of liberation. But as Jehoiada was offering the first fruits of the harvest on the altar, a dreadful event took place. Under the protection of an armed guard, Athaliah had come to search out the mystery of her dream. Leaving her men in the aisle, she strode forward alone to the altar like a sleepwalker, straight into the holy place where none but Levites may step. And Jehoiada the high priest turned upon her in rage.
Queen, I order you to quit this sacred ground. The house of God is forbidden to you for your crimes and your impiety. Come!
Athaliah opened her mouth to speak. One could almost hear already her command to arrest the daring high priest. But suddenly, she seemed to freeze in terror. Her eyes fixed on the altar and on the boy Eliakim, standing there in his priestly robes. Then her lips moved.
It is he. It is the boy of my dream.
So Athaliah, recognizing Joash, the true heir to the throne, as the boy who had stabbed her in her dream, fled in fear to her palace.
Oh, Matan, you Abner, what does it mean? There he was beside the high priest, the youth of my fear. It was he in the same white garb and with the same noble look. What is going to happen?
There is something frightful about this dream that changes into reality.
Abner, you saw him. Who is he?
I don't know. He has been serving at the altar for a year or more.
Why discuss the thing? We must make sure of him. If he is guilty, he must die.
What crime can the boy be guilty of?
Heaven has shown him to the queen with a dagger in his hand. What more do you ask for?
Blood seems to flow too slowly for you, O priest. Madam, what have you to fear? A dream. A feeble boy whom you thought you recognized. Perhaps you were mistaken.
I wish I were, Abner. Perhaps this dream has been in my mind too much. Very well. I shall have a closer look at him. Have him brought to me.
Oh, Madam, I fear...
There can be no reason to refuse, Abner. Bring him. I command it. And let them remember the temple in which they worship still stands. It will not be well for the high priest to insult me again.
Do not
be afraid, Yehoshua. Take Eliakim to her. You go with him. There will be great things done in Judah today.
Abner and Yehoshua brought the boy called Eliakim before the fierce, distracted queen, his grandmother, and she questioned him.
Who is your father? Answer me, boy.
They say I am an orphan.
You have no kin?
They abandoned me.
What country do you come from?
The temple is my country.
Who took care of you?
God never lets his children want. He feeds the sparrows in the field. He blesses everything that lives.
Abner, this child troubles me strangely. How can I hate him? I feel pity.
So this is the terrible enemy. Oh, it's plain your dream was false.
We will go now, madam.
No, not yet. Boy, how do you pass your time?
I pray to God. I study the law.
What does it teach, this law?
That one must love God, that he is just, that sooner or later he takes revenge.
That is what all children do.
Why do you answer for him? Let him speak for himself.
What can such a baby tell you?
He's too young to know how to lie. Let him answer my question. Yes, boy. God takes revenge.
God takes revenge on those who blaspheme his name.
What else does God do?
He is the defender of orphans. He humbles the proud and punishes crime.
I see. Now tell me, there are a great many men in this temple of yours. What do they do?
They pray to God.
And what pleasures do you have?
I assist the high priest at the service. I hear the singing.
That is all? Listen, boy, come to my palace. You will learn the joy of living.
The joys of the wicked soon run dry.
The wicked? Whom do you mean?
Please, madam, he is only a child.
I'm interested in the way you've been teaching him. Eliakim, you please me. You see, I am a queen and I have no heir. I want you to share what I have. You will be my son.
Your son?
Yes. What do you say?
To leave those who love me for...
Yes.
For a mother like you?
He has learned his lessons well. In everything he says, I see Jehoiada's hate. This is how you infect the youth and cultivate in them a horror at my name. I am satisfied. I wanted to see. I have seen. Go. We shall meet again. Matan, you are right. The temple must be destroyed. Muster my Tyrians, I entrust the task to you.
Most gracious queen, this is the happiest moment of my life.
Matan, come back. Quick, girl, go fetch Matan back.
Yes, madam.
Madam,
I retract my command, Matan. You must not destroy the temple. No, not today. I have another plan.
Forgive me, queen, but all your plans seem to cancel each other.
I must see the boy Eliakim once more.
My queen, I have found out a few things about this boy. They have begun to boast of his ancestry. The Judeans...
It's just their plot to make him hate me. Matan, go to Yehoshua and say, the fire is kindled, the sword is raised. Nothing will keep your temple from destruction unless you send me this boy as hostage.
My friend, it is done. The temple is finished.
Why, I heard the queen retracts and wants the boy instead.
Yes, but if they refuse, the temple burns.
They surely won't refuse. Would they let that temple fall for some boy they don't even know?
Nabal, you are dealing with a very proud people. Jehoiada will defy the cruelest death rather than surrender a child dedicated to the service of God. They will refuse, I tell you. The rest is up to me, and fire and sword will rid my eyes of them. Madam Yehoshua.
Yes?
I come from the Queen with a message of peace.
That would be welcome.
It is rumored that your husband, the high priest, is involved in dangerous plots. Naturally, these charges are false, but the Queen simply insists on a guarantee. The young orphan she saw here.
Eliakim?
Frankly, I regret that Her Highness gives so much weight to a mere dream. But you know how women are.
And that is the message of peace you bring?
Why should you complain? Are we taking your son? What is this boy to you? They say your husband has great plans for him.
You find such rumors useful.
Now tell me, madam, aren't these rumors true? You won't say? Well, suit yourself. But remember, before the day ends, the boy goes to the Queen, or you will feel the wrath of her displeasure.
The storm is broken. The secret is almost out.
McCann all but named the father of the boy.
Let us hide him again. In the desert this time.
Let him go as a suppliant to King Jehu.
Poor boy. From the moment of his birth, they sought his life.
We shall not hide the boy. We shall rely on God alone and act before Matan's plans are ready. Ishmael, order the temple gates closed, and let all grown males assemble below to receive arms.
Arm yourselves, sons of peace, with these swords and lances, which David consecrated here long ago to the God who shielded him from harm. And lo, here in my hands I hold the royal crown that rested once on David's brow. Come, let us crown our king and restore the sacred law.
By the scroll of the law, Jehoiada the high priest crowned the boy called Eliakim with David's crown as Joash, king of Judah.
Swear that you will punish evil and protect the innocent.
I swear.
And that you will never forget the poor, since you yourself were poor and an orphan.
I promise to follow the law of God. May he punish me if I depart from it.
With this sacred oil, I anoint thee king. Priests, Levites, Judeans, behold your king. With God, your single hope. Soon Athaliah will come to seek his life, and her barbarian hordes will besiege us here. My sons, do not be afraid. The God of Israel has troubled the murderess in the night, and he will spread his terror through her hosts.
The enemy soldiers have come. The temple is surrounded. I could see lighted torches among them.
They have not kept us waiting. Let us divide our forces. You, Ishmael, take your men and guard the eastern gate. You, Abram, take the south. You, the north. You, the west. Athaliah, guard the king, and from the ramparts let the people be told he lives. Each man shall stand his ground till death. The enemy expects unarmed victims paralyzed by fear. We shall surprise him. To your posts, remnant of a valiant people. Let me have a sword. Jehoshaphat, bid the choir sing.
Athaliah hesitated to give the signal. Perhaps she could not bear to think that the boy Eliakim would hate her still more. So, with the battering rams poised, she sent Abner to Jehoiada with the last demand that he give up the boy peacefully. And to Abner's amazement, Jehoiada seemed to yield to force.
Let her come and take the boy. Only one thing. She may come with her chief officers, but her men must stay outside the walls. They shall not pillage the sanctuary. And Abner, the boy...
I swear I will protect him.
And Jehoiada set a trap for Athaliah.
How quiet it is, Matan. Are you sure?
No doubt they are hiding in panic. Ah, there is the high priest, posed like an ancient prophet in front of that screen.
So, Jehoiada, it was better to yield. Or are you still hoping for some miracle from your God? Come, where is the boy?
Remove the screen. There! Behold your king on his throne, Joash, your son's son.
Treason! God of the Judeans, you have done all this. You who set me against myself, with reamed me with love, who confused me with pity, who beset me with vision.
God! Take her away! Take her away, I say! Come, Judeans! Behold your king and renew through him Jacob's pact with the Lord. Now, King of the Judeans, begin your reign. Let not your heart be lifted up above your brethren, and never forget that power has its limits and its laws. That a judge of kings sits overhead, a judge who is the avenger of the innocent and the father of orphans.
And now, we present Rabbi Edward Schoenfeld of the University Heights Jewish Center. Rabbi Schoenfeld.
We have just heard the story of the queen who ascended the throne of Judah through murder and treachery, forsaking God and the principles of Judaism to worship false gods. On Tuesday next, the Jewish people will observe Tisha B'Av, the fast of the 9th day of Av, which commemorates the destruction of Jerusalem and the Holy Temple. Events which remind us of Jewish heroism and self-sacrifice in the highest degree. You recall the story of Hannah, who sacrificed her 7 sons rather than permit them to worship idols. She believed in the one and only God. So she trained her sons to believe. They died gloriously, but they live everlastingly. Our children after us will only manifest such qualities as stir the admiration of the world if their mothers lead them to God, if their mothers live the religion which they desire their children to follow. The mother who kindles the lights on Sabbath Eve, which are the symbol of her religion, likewise kindles in the souls of her sons the light which only death can extinguish. Give me the mother who fills the fairy palace of her child's growing imagination with a story that points the way to unselfish service, and I will show you the mother who blesses herself and her child. Give me the mother who prays for and with her child in its most impressionable years, and I will show you the modern Hannah, whose fame will never depart from the lips of the young whom she blessed with her presence. When a mother rears her child to service, to a consecrated spirit of usefulness, she is doing her part to rear that temple of humanity which must yet be constructed by the united efforts of the nations of the world. The period that precedes the fast day of the 9th of Av is followed by the Sabbath of consolation and hope. The hope of the temple rebuilt and the return of our people to the land of Israel. Mothers will be the inspiration of that hope. Mothers who will lead their families heavenward to the prophetic mountain of humanity, toward justice and everlasting peace.
Thank you, Rabbi Schoenfeld. Today's script was an adaptation for radio by Harold Rosenberg of the French classic Athalie by Jean Racine. The music was composed and conducted by Morris Momorsky. The liturgical music was sung by Cantor David Siegel. The entire production was under the direction of Ed King. Featured in the cast were Ann Seymour in the role of Athalie and Raymond Edward Johnson as Jehoiada the priest. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program is brought to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today, The Would-Be Pauper, is written for radio by Harold Rosenberg and is based on a story by Abraham Risen. Featured as Reb Yoseber is Edgar Staley.
Let me tell you about our town's rich man, Reb Yoseber. Yoseber lives in a good house, has a tall, dignified wife and 2 well-bred children, and is highly valued in the community. In fact, it's his value to the community that this story is about. Yoseber often has visitors who remind him of his high standing in our town.
In short, Reb Yoseber, such is the miserable condition of our community bathhouse.
It sounds unbearable.
Naturally, we, the committee for repairing the bathhouse, have come to you first with our problem.
Naturally. Have another glass of tea, friends?
No, thanks. It's getting late and we still have other people to see.
Oh, of course. But what can I do?
We want your advice, Reb.
Advice? Unfortunately, the problem doesn't seem to present any difficulties. You hire a plumber and he makes the repairs.
And then?
Then you bathe.
That would be fine. If only it were as simple as that. 1, 2, 3, jump in the water and start bathing.
1, 2, 3.
No. There is an obstacle, Reb Yoseber.
An obstacle? What obstacle?
Well, yeah, you know, Reb Yoseber, the usual obstacle.
Oh, of course. I've got it. The plumber has to be paid.
Reb Yoseber understands the problem
He's
perfectly.
gotten to the very heart of the matter.
You, Reb Yoseber, being our town's richest man...
Get us off to a good start on our drive.
See that our town has a bathhouse that...
Yeah, my friends, take these 5 rubles.
Fine, Reb.
A very fine contribution.
The Almighty will reward you.
It is written, he who performs a good deed extends the boundaries of heaven.
We will be going now.
Good day, friends.
Until the next time we need your advice, Reb Yoseber, may we all live.
Till the next time.
That
our Reb Yoseber, a typical pillar of Jewish society, who agrees with the Bratislava rabbi that upon charity the universe is founded. But there's one thing wrong with Yoseber, our town's rich man.
Till the next time, he says. Oh, it can't go on.
Yoseber, give me some money, please. I've got to go shopping for
My
Sabbath.
dear wife, why couldn't you get here a little earlier? You might have saved me.
From what? What's the matter?
I'm ruined, that's all. They've utterly ruined me.
Who?
The committee for repairing the bathhouse. They've taken our last penny.
Why did you give it to them?
How can I refuse? They depend on me. What do we do for Sabbath?
Oh, we'll manage somehow. Don't worry. We won't greet the Sabbath with an empty table.
One of these days there won't be anything left to pawn. Then they'll know that their rich man is a pauper.
That's it. Our Yoseber is a genuine town's rich man, except for one thing. He has no money, not a cent. And this has been true for years. Admittedly, being a pauper is rather a handicap when one is the town's rich man and is bound by his past to continue in that position. And Yoseber is bound. He hasn't the least idea of how to stop living up to his rich man's status.
Beautiful ceremony.
Come here, Dubdo. Don't step on the grass. You know, it's time our town cemetery has new fencing.
Fencing or no fencing, it's beautiful here. The cemetery is the one place a poor man can enjoy.
As I see it, Yankel, there are too many men who run off to the grave.
What do you mean?
Let's say I mean this Reb Shmuel, from whose funeral we're coming. It's all very well for him to be buried with fine singing and flattering words from the rabbi. But it would have been better if, instead of dying, he'd shown a little sense of responsibility.
But, my dear wife...
What right has a man to die without a penny to his name and with a daughter that needs to be married off? He enjoys our cemetery. Oh, very pleasant for him. But what is going to happen to his orphan, Gittel?
What do you think will happen?
Reb Yoseber, I suppose.
Naturally. Our leading householders already agreed to take her in.
He was willing.
What else was to do it? Who? The representatives of the community said to Reb Yosa, an orphan girl has been left on our hands. What is the solution? We need your advice.
And he didn't even object.
No one has ever heard Yoseber hesitate when it comes to doing his duty. He merely quoted the text, "He who adopts an orphan is like unto him who begot him," and added, "From now on, Gittel, daughter of Shmuel, is my daughter."
It's a good thing Yoseber has plenty of money. Dovdo, get down off that headstone. A marriageable daughter eats money, clothes, dinners, a dowry.
Leave it to our Reb Yosa. He can afford it.
Esther Baylor, this time we are definitely ruined.
So Yoseber has solved another community problem.
How could I help myself? They came to me. Could I let this poor child starve? I do only what's expected of any householder in Israel.
Well, we have survived so far.
We have nothing to eat ourselves. Does the poor orphan have to suffer too? Oh, why don't they leave me alone? Why, they don't bother other paupers.
Sit down and have a glass of tea. Here, let me help you off with your coat.
I wish someone would carry this coat off to the ends of the earth. All our troubles come from things like this garment. Why must I wear a fur coat like a millionaire? Why must we have a white tablecloth on the table on an ordinary Tuesday? No wonder people think I'm rich.
Oh, don't blame this poor old coat. But look how the fur is rubbed away on the collar. The seams are green with age.
Yeah. Still, it's the coat of a rich man. People don't see the bald spots in the fur or the holes in the elbows. They see the original coat as it was 30 years ago. The changes they don't see. Nor do they see the changes in the owner of the coat. I must get rid of it.
And this beautiful beard of yours that shines like silver, that's also a rich man's. Can you get rid of it?
Oh.
Come sit down. I'll get the tea.
You see, I'll show them I'm a pauper yet.
If they don't see it now, they'll never see it.
The fact is that Yussa Bear's poverty is perfectly obvious. But a mysterious fatality seems to prevent his fellow citizens from becoming aware of what lies before their eyes.
Oh, good day, Yussa Bear.
Good day.
Even though my business is taking things in pawn, it grieves me to see you with another package. It looks heavy. Here, let me set it down on the counter.
Just unwrap the sheet, Reb Zelig. There. Now, this clock is genuine porcelain. And the works are perfect.
A beautiful clock. Oh, it belongs in your house, not here.
It belongs here. Everything I have belongs here. Isn't it written, the more gold, the more anxiety?
It is also written, poverty is worse than 50 plagues.
Apparently, both wealth and poverty are evils. And I suffer from both. For I'm this town's rich, poor man. If I were simply poor, half my burdens would be lifted from me.
At the rate your possessions have been diminishing, you will soon be stripped down to a bare skeleton.
Well, at least then the town will see that my bones are the same shape as any other poor man's.
Well, for this clock, I can give you...
Yes?
Wait. Here comes Reb Mendel down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Step behind this partition so he won't see you.
Oh, why should I hide? If he sees me, all the better.
What are you saying? No one wants to be found in a pawn shop. Hide, Yussa Bear. What? He's carrying a package. He may be coming here.
Let him come. I want nothing better than to be found here by a member of the committee for repairing the bathhouse.
Here he is. Too late to hide now. But wait, he's going by.
No.
Hooray, he's passed. And without looking in.
Just my luck.
What? He's coming back in a hurry. He must have been making sure no one was watching. Here he is.
Good.
Reb Yussa. You here?
You see, why not? On business, too. Aren't you surprised to see me?
For a moment, I was taken aback. So you brought your porcelain clock, too. Here is mine. My wife also insists on one of those new ebony types from America. But let me tell you, Reb Zelig, this old clock is actually worth a lot more.
To convince people that one is what one is not seems fairly easy. Paupers pass themselves off as millionaires. Cowards get themselves admired as heroes. There are even cases where women have managed to be taken for men. But to see what one really is, to be taken for a pauper when one actually is a pauper, that can apparently prove very difficult.
Why must we keep a servant? We can't afford it.
Can we let old Masha go? What would become of her? Do you want her to starve?
Oh, God forbid. But with a servant, who will believe I'm a pauper? What? Dessert again?
It's only a few baked apples. They cost next to nothing. Every peasant eats them.
But they will say that I'm a rich man. I have dessert served every day.
Who tells you to call it dessert?
What else am I to call it?
Call it baked apples.
The rest of the year, Yussa Bear and his family managed to get by somehow. A miracle. But when Passover comes, our leading householder is in a real crisis. All the Passover expenses, wine, matzahs, special food, a glass here, a pair of shoes there, where is it all to come from? You've guessed it. Reb Zelig, the pawnbroker, has been honored with another visit. And Yussa Bear is just home with the proceeds of his father's golden goblet, a 10-ruble note.
They're waiting for you, Yussa Bear, in your study.
Who? Who's waiting?
The committee for the Passover fund for the poor.
I don't want to see them. I have no money for the Passover fund.
Go in and tell them that. Then everyone will know that Reb Yussa Bear has become a pauper.
I'll tell them. Don't you think I won't? Not 1 cent will they get. In fact, from now on, the Passover fund will have to take care of me.
That you'll never tell them.
You see, I'll go right in now. The mask is coming off. Sorry to have kept you gentlemen waiting. If you want to know, I was detained by some business with Reb Zelig, the pawnbroker.
A coincidence. We were just discussing pawning. One Passover, the Primoslava rabbi gave all his money to the poor. Then his wife found something to pawn, bought a chicken, and made soup. But when the rabbi came home from shul, he told her to take the chicken and the soup to a poor woman who had just given birth to a baby.
And the great rabbi and his wife ate matzahs and potatoes for their Seder.
Oh.
The Belzer rabbi even pawned his Sabbath candlesticks for charity.
Yes.
In our times, such Jews no longer exist. Oh, but excuse me, Reb Yosebeh. You were saying something about the pawnbroker?
No. I just, please, go ahead.
Oh, saints like those rabbis we no longer have with us. But poor people to take care of, we have more than ever before in the history of the world. What do you think, Reb Yosebeh?
It's a fact.
In our opinion, we must have a large fund this year for matzahs, wine, potatoes. What is your advice, Reb Yosebeh?
I agree. I must give you something. At least the soup. I mean, at least something. Can you change a note?
If it's 100-ruble note, we haven't enough yet.
It isn't exactly 100. It's less.
50?
No, I'm afraid... here it is.
10 rubles, the same as last year. You're not serious about change, of course. Were you joking?
Well, of course, as the rabbi says, charity is a cure for every headache. Take it all.
A fine donation, Reb Yosebeh.
The Almighty will reward you.
Yosebeh, back again. But you were just here an hour ago.
Yes, it seems that my advice was needed for the Passover. You're wondering what the pledge will be this time.
I don't see the usual package wrapped in a white sheet,
There's no need to wrap this pledge. Here it is.
What are you doing? You mean you want to pawn your greatcoat? No, don't take it off. I won't accept it.
There it is on your counter. I admit it's old, but it's still worth something.
Well, it's worth too much. It's worth more than I can pay.
Oh, what are you saying? An old fur coat that's losing its hair? One would be lucky to get 10 rubles for it. Yeah, I've worn it long enough.
Well, a man gets old, too, but he's still entitled to keep his dignity. God forbid I should take it. It'd be like receiving in pawn a living being. Here, 10 rubles. Take the money and put the coat back on.
Now, please, Reb Zelig, take the coat and save my life. For years, this coat of a gentleman has been covering a lie. Our whole town has been blinded by it.
For 30 years, I have seen this coat walking proudly on its way to shul each Sabbath and holy day. How will it look for our Reb Yosebeh to be leaping about town like a plucked chicken?
It will look exactly as it should look, like the truth. Now, please, Reb Zelig, remove my yoke of false appearances.
Well, maybe what you say. No, the coat is out of the question. Take the money.
No, but Reb Zelig, just keep the coat. You'll make me a free man. You'll restore my dignity. What's wrong with being poor? No more concealment. No more misunderstandings. People know me exactly as I am. Don't you see? Reb Zelig, you're taking it off the counter. You know I'm right. Save! A new life is opening before me. Thank you, Reb Zelig, and goodbye. Happy holiday to you. Now they'll see that their Yosebeh is just a poor Jew like the rest. Da-da-dee, 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 da-da-dee. It's a bit chilly, but it's a little shiver when a man's just risen from the dead. Good day, gentlemen. Good day, Reb Yosebeh. Da-da-dee. No more advice will they ask of me, a man of naked poverty. Yeah, na-da-da-da-da-da-da-dee.
Isn't Yosebeh looking wonderful?
A happy man. As it says in the Talmud, great is charity. It uplifts the soul.
Nevertheless, it's a bit early to be without a coat.
Weather is a matter of how one feels. I, wrapped up as I am, feel chilly. while Yosebear is apparently so full of energy it annoys him to be bundled up. We should all be putting away our coats earlier. It's better for the health.
Rev Yosebear, I've been looking everywhere for you. We need your advice at once.
Advice, eh? Look, isn't it chilly out, Reb Shammett?
It could be. Anyway, a student has just arrived from out of town. A wonderful young man, a genuine scholar. And this genius likes a place to stay for Passover.
A traveler? Without a Seder? God forbid.
So we thought of asking you. He's an orphan, but of excellent family.
Of course, send him to me. Isn't it written hospitality is greater than a visit to the house of study?
I'll bring him right away. He'll be at your house this afternoon. Red Yosebear, just a minute. A text just sprang into my mind. Who does charity all the time? Asked the Ketubot. And it answers, he who adopts an orphan girl and an orphan boy and marries one to the other.
The Seder of Yosebear, our town's rich man, somehow turns out to be a genuinely regal affair. There he sits at the head of the table, a king reclining deeply in his pillow, surrounded by his court. To his left are his two princes, Avremel, quite a young man, and Yisrolik, also past bar mitzvah, who is asking the question.
Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we eat leaven.
To the right of Yosebear, his queen, Esther Bela, hurries to keep up with the reading of the Haggadah, which as usual races ahead with the speed of King Solomon's chariot.
Borei peri hagofen, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chavonu mikol.
While beyond Esther Bela, the two orphans, the girl Gittel and the clever student from out of town, keep their eyes glued on their Haggadahs, as if they never before saw anything so fascinating. She murmurs like a dove, even when they get to the 10 plagues.
Dam, Valdea, Keenan, Dever, Shachin Bovel.
At dinner, everything turns out wonderfully. The beet juice is even better than last year. The king of the Seder leans back, shining, happily exhausted from the reading, the cups of wine, the holiday food. And now it's time to return to the Haggadah.
Let us say grace. Baruch she'ochalnu mishlo u'v'tulo.
Wake up, Yosebear. Wake up. I need your advice.
What? Did someone say advice?
The student wants to marry Gittel. She just told me while we were washing the dishes.
Oh, congratulations. Mazel tov.
But of course they can't get married.
Well, what's stopping them?
Oh, it's obvious. He's a poor boy, and he must go on with his studies.
Oh.
Of course, if she had a father, he'd support the young man for a few years, according to the tradition of giving tests to student bridegrooms. But as it is...
Oh, what's the matter with you, Esther Bela? Can such a match be allowed to fail for such trivial reasons? Tell them that Yosebear, the bride's foster father, invited him to live here with his bride and devote himself to his studies.
Oh, Yosebear, money or no money, you will always be a rich man.
And now, we present Rabbi Harry W. Katchen of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Rabbi Katchen.
We have just been privileged to look into a tiny corner of a world that is gone and of a simple life virtually destroyed. The Jew lived within the dark confines of the ghettos of Eastern Europe, a life steeped in poverty. Yet he reflected a beauty of the inner spirit which gave remarkable evidence of how ordinary men and women can rise above the ordinary if their lives be suffused with great ideals. Reb Yosef Ber is typical of the average Jew who joyfully lived the life enjoined by the law. He felt that God was near to him and believed it his duty to help establish God's kingdom on earth through deeds of righteousness. An ancient rabbi, commenting on a verse in the Song of Songs, pictures God as saying to Israel, "Behold, thou art fair, my love. You are fair through the giving of alms and performing acts of good deeds. You are my friend when you walk in my ways. As the Omnipresent is merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness, so be ye, feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, ransoming the captive, and marrying the orphan." Judaism teaches that to relieve the oppressed and to help the downtrodden is to share in a divine work, an essential preliminary to establishing God's kingdom. Tzedakah or charity and Gemilas Chasodim, the performance of good deeds, outweigh all other commandments, say the rabbis. Tinius Rufus, the Roman, once asked Rabbi Akiba, "Why does your God, being the lover of the needy, not himself provide for their support?" His reply was, "By tzedakah or righteousness, wealth is to be made a means of salvation. God, the Father of both the rich and the poor, wants the one to help the other, and thus make the world a household of love." The simple life of long ago is gone. Today we live in a complex world and are sorely beset by complex problems. But the simple faith of old, "Blessed is he that considereth the poor, the Lord will deliver him in time of trouble," can help make our disturbed world a household of love and guide us in our search for the heavenly kingdom.
Thank you, Rabbi Katchen. Today's radio play was written for the Eternal Light by Harold Rosenberg and was based on a story by Abraham Risen. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Katams. Cantor Robert H. Siegel sang the liturgical music. The role of Reb Yosef Ber was played by Edgar Staley. The entire production was under the direction of Ed King. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America.